Good morning to all. Hope I'm audible to all. Yes, signal says so. Fine. So, can't hear. Yes, you would be hearing. Fine then. Then yesterday we saw till citizenship we have done. Truly, the pace in which what we are moving is not that revision pace because questions being asked, we are also involving in questions. Without that, I don't think so. It's a good one. We have to involve, but at the same time, because earlier what has been covered is not clear, so I'm touching upon things as much as possible and very important items I'm explaining more. The same way only we will be moving today also, and in that today, as a follow-up of whatever we have seen yesterday, we would be dealing with part 3 of Indian Constitution and fundamental rights. This is what we would be dealing today. And fundamental right, hopefully DPSP both, if we finish today, those important items, it would be good for us. Okay, fine. Let us start now. So, fundamental rights, if you see, basically a very important part among all the provisions of the Constitution. In fact, in law universities and colleges, if you see, this alone would be a separate paper. Article 1 to Article 51, that is fundamental duty, they will have as one semester, they will study that. The next semester, the rest of it, they will study. That clearly shows the importance of it. Coming back to UPSC. Sir, what is it for UPSC? In UPSC, you cannot see a mains paper. I'm making it very clear to you. As a veteran of these exams, and even 2 decades back when we were all writing too, and this exam means without this topic, directly or indirectly, not a single year question would remain. Mains, I am saying. Or what about prelims? If you see the question paper of last decade, that is 2001 to 10, in that particularly I will call like 2-3 onwards we can say. Directly questions have been asked from provisions. Fundamental rights, provisions, directly questions have been asked. So, such importance it is there. Even now, day before yesterday, while introducing about the syllabi and related thing, I did say to you that about this fundamental rights, how questions are put. Nowadays, questions are put in such a way that indirectly they ask relating to a case, though they are not asking cases nowadays, they can even, but indirectly they are asking. Like the Hadia case, how it got asked. 2019, Hadia case was a very important one in Kerala. A woman converting herself and marrying a person of her choice and living together. Can they live together? Is the consent of parents so essential? Or love jihad like issues came up and Supreme Court said Article 21, right to marry a person of one's choice is part and parcel of Article 21. 2019 question. So 2018 this issue was going on, 2019 question. Prelims. So likewise questions are asked. Earlier, pretty straight it was asked. And if you see, we have come to the other decade now. The type of questions that existed till 2010 is not the same way how it is from 2011 to 2020. I won't say that every decade UPSC changes its pattern. No, I will not say that. That may be too trivial of me to say. ஒரு 10 வருஷத்துக்கு ஒரு முறை யூபிஎஸ்சி வந்து தன்னுடைய கொஸ்டின் கேட்கிற விதத்தை மாத்துறாங்கன்னு சொல்றது வந்து ரொம்ப அது எளிமைப்படுத்தப்பட்ட ஒரு விஷயமா இருக்கும் நான் சொல்லக்கூடிய வாதம். அது இல்லை. பட் ஒரு ட்ரெண்ட் பார்க்க முடியும். அந்த ஒரு டெக்கேட்ல ஒரு சேஞ்சிங் ட்ரெண்டும் ஒரு அதாவது சேஞ்சிங் நம்ம சொல்றது வந்து எதுவுமே நியூ கிடையாது. That would have been a trend sometimes back. They would be trying to bring that in. As simple as that. So at no point of time you can say that articles, can this be asked or not? See, about important articles, if you see article 1 to 4, important only. In that 1 and 3 are very important. I told very important as articles itself. Very article you should remember. So is fundamental right. Right from 12 to 35, each and every article you shall remember. You shall know what it is, what it means. That is very important. Getting it or not? So articles again here becomes important. Fundamental rights, still even I will say fundamental duty 51A, you should be knowing every article. Article itself you should know. Other than that, selectively you should know the articles. Because if you see 2019 again, they have asked a question. Article 142. Asked a question on Article 142. Because that 142 article, lot many was discussed in the cases at the time, even in Ayodhya case, that Article 142 had a relevance. Where the orders of the Supreme Court has to be executed by the executive. So that question, article itself they have asked. If you can see 2019 paper, prelims paper, they have asked a question on 142, Article 142. They have asked what it says. So selectively we have to read after this. But fundamental rights, every article is always important. Prelims point of view, directly earlier they asked, now indirectly nowadays. And mains, always important. Always important, every year important. And directly asking questions is very less, but indirectly they are putting it. Let us enter into the topic now. First of all, what is fundamental rights? Briefly speaking, Professor Lasky's this quote I would be taking about rights. One of the founders of Labour Party in Britain. And rights are conditions which if denied to human beings, they cannot be the best of their own. They cannot represent themselves with the best of their own. They cannot express their personality completely. Hope you are getting it. So, what are rights? Rights are those fundamental elements, conditions, which are required in such a way that if denied, a person cannot be his own self. Listen to me. If a person wants to be his own self, see, rights is not something that is extra given to a person. Rights is something without which he cannot be his own. That's what fundamental rights are. So only we call it fundamental rights. So these are so very important in order that a person behaves a human. If you deny this to a person, it would amount that a person has. Wait. If you deny it to a person's existence becomes animal existence, even worse than an animal existence. Hope you are understanding it. Even worse than an animal existence it becomes if you deny these things to a person. So fundamental rights is not something that is extra given to a human or a citizen or a human for that matter. It is those rights without which a human cannot be a human itself. ஒருத்த மனுஷனா இருக்கிறதுக்கு இந்த ரைட்ஸ் எல்லாம் இருந்தாதான் அவன மனுஷனே நம்ம we can கருத்துல கொள்ள முடியும். We can even think of him as a human. If not, he is not a human at all, because it will become a mere animal existence. மிருகத்தை பெட்டா வளர்த்துறோம், மிருகத்தை சாப்பிடுறோம், ஜூல அடைச்சு வச்சு பார்க்கிறோம், மிருகத்தை ஃபேன்சி ட்ரெஸ் நம்ம கொண்டு போறோம், அது நம்மள்ட்ட கேட்கல. அது in a way or the other அது ஒரு ஸ்லேவ் தான். அது அது பெட்டுன்னு சொல்லிக்கலாம், வேர்டை பார்த்திக்கலாம். பட் என்னமோ நம்ம இஷ்டத்துக்கு அதை செய்யறோம். அப்போ அதோடைய ரைட் அப்படிங்கிறது many a times we deny them. Deny in the sense like they do not have it on their own. They may have, but again, we are not ready to look into their own rights from that angle. But man is not like that. These are all items that needed to be there in order that he behaves like a man. Normal man na irukano. If he doesn't have that, he's not even a human, not worth called to be a human. Getting it? So that is what it is. And this statement here, I'm putting it here, you see, this seems to be such a simple statement. Supreme Court of India is the protector, preserver, guarantor of fundamental rights. Constitution is the provider of fundamental rights. Supreme Court is the preserver of fundamental rights. Listen very carefully to me. Such a simple statement. Yes, this statement itself has been asked. Sometimes back, this statement has been asked. Such a simple statement. Who is the guarantor, protector of fundamental right? The protector of fundamental right is Supreme Court. Because when it is violated, directly you can go there. Yes, High Court also, but Supreme Court is it's apex court. It's the highest in the hierarchy. It's the protector of this fundamental rights. Hope you are getting it. Okay. So this one, please don't forget it. Constitution provides fundamental rights. Protector of fundamental right is Supreme Court. Now we will go into the antecedents from where we have adapted. Listen to me here. Normally a straight question, from where have we adapted this concept of fundamental rights? A straight question, where have we adapted the provision of fundamental right? A straight question means it is USA, the Bill of Rights of USA. We have adapted the idea of fundamental right from the Bill of Rights of USA, and no doubt about that. That is the primary one, adapted in the sense like the idea of having fundamental right. But if you see the content of fundamental right, the content we have borrowed from different sources. One, the Bill of Rights from USA. Other, Declaration of Rights of Man and Citizen. Declaration of Rights of Man and Citizen. Declaration of Rights of Man and Citizen. France, Bill of Rights of Britain. Ireland. From these countries' laws, the Bill of Rights of Britain. Britain lo or Bill of Rights irukku. Magna Carta 1215. அது தனி. அது இல்லாம 1689ல ஒரு புரட்சி நடந்தது. After that, a Bill of Rights came up. So the content what we have as fundamental right we have borrowed, but the idea of having fundamental right within the Constitution is mostly as like how American Constitution has got, that is the Bill of Rights in America. Okay, so first primary question, if a question asked, from where have we borrowed or adapted? Even that word borrowed, though not wrong in saying, but I prefer not to say. அது நான் எடுக்கப்பட்டது, இது ஒரு கொஸ்டின், இம்பார்ட்டன்டான கொஸ்டின், பிலிம்ஸ்க்கு முக்கியமானது கூட. ஸோ ஆன் த வே தட் we will be seeing, நம்ம கிளாஸஸ் எடுக்கும் பொழுது அது எங்க என்னங்கிறத நான் சொல்லுவேன். அதுக்குன்னு தனியா எடுக்க வேண்டியது இல்லை. we need not take separately for it. If you see fundamental right, USA, that's plain answer, straight answer. So the concept, the way fundamental right should be there, but the content of it has been there. The content what we have in our part 3, we have adapted from different sources. That is what we are seeing. Apart from it, the history of coming of fundamental right, the historicity of coming of fundamental right in the Indian Constitution. In the Indian Constitution, if you see, even before 1916, I said about a bill day before yesterday, Swaraj India Bill. (1895). Swaraj India Bill, 1895. Swaraj India Bill, 1895. Anyway, I have repeatedly said, so I will not write it furthermore legibly. Leave it. Swaraj India Bill, 1895. I told Bala Gangadhar Tilak presented it. In that itself, he has asked a few rights, claimed for a few rights, not as fundamental right, but he claimed as few rights: right to carry arms, right to speak, that is, right to ask questions, right to speak, right to demand from the government. This all he has asked. Home Rule League of Annie Besant, again, she reiterated those rights again. She wanted that these rights be there in 1919 Act. Same Indian National Congress session in 1918 again asked. Much of rights were not there in 1919 Act. 1919 Act did have, but not much of the rights. And when the Motilal Nehru report came up, as against the Simon Commission, Motilal Nehru presented a report. All party meeting, when Simon Commission came to review the working of 1919 Act in 1927. Actually, they should have come in 1929 only. 2 years prior they came. And when they came, all members were English members, which antagonized the Indian freedom fighters. They wanted that Indians be included in that panel. Then how can you judge whether a law suits us or not? But the Britishers said that Indians are not good enough to analyze law or make law and all. Still, they have to grow a lot, and so you cannot demand it. So this actually did not go down well with the freedom fighters. So the men in Congress as well as other parties, they came together, except a few parties. One of the few parties which welcomed the Simon Commission was Justice Party. In Madras Presidency, they welcomed Simon. They said that here we are ready to put our grievances and what we wanted to have. That's a lot much in history. We have to go for it. But except that most of the parties came together, an all-party meeting was called. Motilal Nehru was given the responsibility to prepare a law and present it, that to show that Indians can make a law. Accordingly, he has made and presented to the all-party. Opposition to it, Mr. Jinnah gave his 14 points. But amendment he wanted to do to it, which was rejected. The 14 points of Jinnah was rejected. When I say this, I remember a wonderful GK related item. It's a wonderful item. See, because I believe, strongly believe you people would have read all these things, so I'm going in a fast manner. Motilal Nehru report, opposition to it or wanted amendment to it on behalf of Muslim League. Jinnah gave the 14 points amendment, which Congress rejected it as ridiculous 14 points. They didn't include. But what happens here is, what is that GK related, which I always expect a question from that. So who idea of 14 points, this was Jinnah's, but who drafted it? C. Rajagopalachari drafted it. C. Rajagopalachari drafted the 14 points. Jinnah's 14 points, idea of Jinnah, content of Jinnah, drafted by C. Rajagopalachari. Okay, that's an important one where as a tidbit information we can get it. Fine. So presented, but then the Motilal Nehru report was presented and 1 year time was given to the British either to accept it. If not, the freedom fighter said that we are going to pronounce complete freedom. Accordingly, it happened. They didn't agree. Britishers didn't agree. Now coming back here, Motilal Nehru report. That report consisted of lot many rights as fundamental rights. Lot many rights as fundamental rights. Separate list of rights were there. And same Indian National Congress in 1927 again reiterated it. Congress session 1931, they reiterated the need for fundamental rights or set of rights for Indians. And in 1935 Act, second roundtable conference, see, the only roundtable conference where Mahatma Gandhi attended, as well as Mahatma Gandhi attended and Congress attended, was second roundtable conference. First and third, Congress didn't attend. Only second roundtable conference, Congress attended. On behalf of Congress, Mahatma Gandhi and Sarojini Naidu, both of them attended. And the second roundtable conference broke, or Mahatma Gandhi broke away from it. And he came out of it for the simple reason that two items were primary trigger points. One was that separate electorate which the British wanted to give to depressed classes, the SCs of scheduled caste whom we say now. Ambedkar called them depressed classes because of age-old oppression and depression that has set in them. The oppression of decade, the epochs-old, era-old oppression creates a sense of depression among the people. So they are depressed classes. So Ambedkar demanded separate electorate for depressed classes, which Mahatma Gandhi was not ready to agree. That was one. And second thing was Mahatma Gandhi wanted a separate chapter of fundamental right in the upcoming law. That is the 1935 law, upcoming law, which Britishers were not clear about. They said that what kind of a law, how, whether to make it compulsory or not, that we cannot afford to give to India. So they were not ready for it. So second roundtable conference broke because one, not inclusion of fundamental right or not a debate on fundamental right by the British, as well as the communal award what they wanted to give, separate electorate to the depressed classes. Both of them were the reasons why this got away. Oh, hopefully you are understanding this. Fine. And 1935 Act did not have any column on fundamental right, which Britishers presented. But even then, few sections had idea of fundamental right. The right of disabled was there. Likewise, very few rights was there, but not much of a right. Okay, one or two rights were there. And finally, in the objective resolution after before independence, that is the cabinet mission, 13 December 1946, when Pandit Nehru presented the objective resolution for discussion that how this constitution has to be. Yes, at that point of time, he has mentioned that there shall be a separate chapter of fundamental right, which shall consist of numerous rights and all. So that was presented in the objective resolution. And when this debate started taking place in the parliament, that is Constituent Assembly that time. Constituent Assembly, till then that idea of DPSP was not there in them. There was only one list. Even prior to it, if you see, in 1945, Tej Bahadur Sapru, Sir Tej Bahadur Sapru, Tej Bahadur Sapru. Sir, why are you mentioning few names and all, sir? What is that important here? Important name only. See, that is where the whole thing. Sir Tej Bahadur Sapru, how far is he important or not? Yes, when we look into his contribution, we will get to know. And he was always an intermediary between, many a times if you see, he is an intermediary between the Britishers and the Congress or the freedom fighters, that whereby he is a very learned person. He had knighthood also. And he was given this position, respected by both the sides always. And why I say about saying this about this person, I am mentioning it, if I am not wrong, 2006 mains paper, UPSC mains paper 2006. I think I am right, yes, 6 only. You see the mains paper. Discuss the contribution of Sir Tej Bahadur Sapru. Question was that. 10 marks. Actually, that was 100th year or 125th year or something of him. So why I say this is, whenever you go to write exam, particularly mains, even prelims that is applicable, you shall also see that year as part of current affairs, which of the freedom fighters or those who allied, who lived at that time, who had a great name, involved in few of the acts in constitution making and all, their 100th year, 125th year, 150th year. Those items, please have a look. Okay, that you should be having a look. Why I say this question was asked. Anyway, listen to me. So here what happens is, Tej, why am I saying Sir Tej Bahadur Sapru here? Reason simple. Sir Tej Bahadur Sapru in 1945 brings in a list of rights. And he did not differentiate it. He brings in a list of rights. And later on, these list of rights were taken up by the Constituent Assembly also and discussed. While discussing, if you even see the 22 committee, what I said, in the 12 substantive committee, one committee name is Committee on Fundamental Right and Minorities, Rights of Minority. This is one committee name. There was no committee for DPSP among the 22 committees in constitution making of constitution, you can see, or evolution of constitution. There was no, 1 minute. Okay. So there was this Government of India Act, if you see 1935, after that objective resolution, then there was no difference. A list of rights was given. But while they were discussing, listen to me here very carefully, while they were discussing in the Constituent Assembly, they happened to see one thing. That is, there are many rights that are there, which are essential, important, no doubt. But they require large resources of the state. The government's resources is needed in order to implement that. For example, right to education, right to work. These and all require huge government infrastructure building. Easily, immediately you can't do them, because when we received independence, the level, the condition in which we received independence and what we were having at that point of time, it was not even enough for our subsistence. Basic subsistence, it was not enough. So our very first 5-year plan, the goal of 5-year plan, first 5-year plan, self-sufficiency. Because we were not self-sufficient, we were importing our food grains. The level at which, because it is aftermath of war, level at which the Britishers left India and went, we were running pillar to post just to solve the basic human problem of food, shelter and clothing. Even today that is a problem. But again, food really not a problem. Distribution wise there is a problem. But there even production, green revolution did not take place at that time. Famine and droughts were so common a thing. Aftermath of Second World War, that agriculture depended upon animals only. Tractors and all other machinery was not there that you can pull in lot of other areas into agriculture. No. So this was the situation. In that time, to invest on schools was not easy to every that is central government as such. So what they did, they took some rights from it, the whole bunch what was being given and discussed by the Constituent Assembly. They kept some rights as separately, and they adopted the Ireland model, that is DPSP. What they said was directive principles. We will keep this as a part in the Constitution, separated from fundamental right, and make it non-justiciable. That is, you cannot demand the government why it has not done. But if a government, state government, we leave it to the state governments, or central government if it wants also can do. Leave it to them. That if their state government has got enough money, enough ability, let the state government do what it wants to do. Let them continue to do. Okay, they left it for the state government. If state government is able to establish more schools, let them establish, let them run. But you cannot demand a state government or central government for those items. So those all items which required states resources to be put invested were all kept under DPSP, and those primary social, political and civil rights means that very basic needs a person to live in a society has to have, those needs all came under or placed under this fundamental right. அதாவது ஃபண்டமெண்டல் ரைட் டிபிஎஸ்பி எப்படி பிரிச்சாங்க? ஒரே செட் ஆஃப் ரைட்ஸ் தான் முதல்ல டிஸ்கஸ் பண்ண வந்தாங்க. கான்ஸ்டிடியூண்ட் அசம்பிளியோட 22 கமிட்டி, அந்த ஒவ்வொரு கமிட்டி அதை 12 சப்ஸ்டாண்டிவ் கமிட்டி. சப்ஸ்டாண்டிவ் கமிட்டினா சப்ஸ்டன்ஸ் ஆஃப் த கான்ஸ்டிடியூஷன் டிஸ்கஸ் பண்றவங்க. கமிட்டி ஆன் யூனியன் பவர், கமிட்டி ஆன் ஃபண்டமெண்டல் ரைட் அண்ட் மைனாரிட்டி. லைக்வைஸ் இந்த கண்டென்ட்ல வர்றது எல்லாமே இன் சென்ட்ரல் ஸ்டேட் ரிலேஷன், தட் இஸ் ப்ரொவின்ஷியல் அண்ட் ஃபெடரல் கவர்மெண்ட் ரிலேஷன். இந்த கமிட்டிஸ்ல ஒரு கமிட்டி நீங்க பார்க்க முடியாது, கமிட்டி ஆன் டிபிஎஸ்பி பார்க்க முடியாது. ஏன்னா அந்த ஐடியா இல்ல. ஆரம்பத்துல டிஸ்கஸ் பண்ணும் பொழுதுதான் ஒரு சில ரைட்ஸ் ரொம்ப தேவையானவை இருந்தாலும், ரைட் டு ஒர்க், என் நாடு அன்னைக்கு இருந்த நிலைமையில அனைவருக்கும் உணவு கொடுப்பதே ஒரு பெரிய விஷயமா இருந்த பொழுது அவங்கனால எப்படி வேலை கொடுத்துருக்க முடியும்? இன்னைக்கு வரலையுமே வேலை கொடுக்கறது ஒரு ஃபண்டமெண்டல் ரைட்ல இல்ல. ஆர்டிகல் 41 பிரகாரம் பாத்தீங்கன்னா அது டிபிஎஸ்பி தான். சோ முடியாது. பிராக்டிக்கலா இன்னைக்கு அந்த அளவுக்கு டெவலப் ஆகல. நம்மளுடைய டெவலப்மெண்ட், எக்கனாமிக் growth அவ்வளோ இல்ல, அது டெவலப்மெண்ட் அவ்வளோ கொண்டு வர அளவுக்கு. So that's an issue. Hope you are getting it. So this was the issue at that point of time. So we were not able to do, and so what they did, Ireland உடைய ஒரு எக்ஸாம்பிள் எடுத்து டிபிஎஸ்பி, ஆக்சுவலா அயர்லாந்து ஸ்பெயின்ல இருந்து அதை எடுத்தாங்க, அதுவும் கான்ட்ரிபியூஷன்ல அது வருது, அதை எடுத்து நம்ம அடாப்ட் பண்ணோம் இந்தியன் கான்ஸ்டிடியூஷனுக்கு. அதை டிபிஎஸ்பின்னு சொல்லி நம்ம நான் ஜஸ்டிசியபிளா வச்சோம். நான் ஜஸ்டிசியபிள்னா என்னன்னா, அது வயலேட் ஆனா டைரக்டா நீங்க கோர்ட்டுக்கு போக முடியாது. ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள் இப்ப ஃபண்டமெண்டல் ரைட் இருக்கு. ஃபண்டமெண்டல் ரைட் ஜஸ்டிசியபிள், மீனிங் டிஃபரன்ஸ் இருக்கு. ஜஸ்டிஃபையபிளுக்கும் ஜஸ்டிசியபிளுக்கும். ஜஸ்டிஃபையபிள்னு சொன்னாலும் தவறல்ல, பட் ஜஸ்டிசியபிள்ல டிஃபரன்ஸ் இருக்கு. அப்ராப்ரியேட் வேர்ட் ஜஸ்டிசியபிள் தான். ஏன் ஜஸ்டிசியபிள் அப்படின்னு சொல்றோம்னா, இப்ப ரைட் டு ஈக்குவாலிட்டி உங்களுக்கு வயலேட் ஆகுது, ஒரு இடத்துல ஈக்குவாலிட்டி வயலேட் ஆகப்படுது, ஒன்னும் வேண்டாம். நீங்க பாருங்க, இப்போ சென்ட்ரல் கவர்மெண்ட் has brought in, yesterday news I am saying, central government has brought in vaccine policy. According to that, what they have done, the procurement rate of central government is one amount, state governments is another amount. இதுதான் the be it Serum Institute or be it Bharat Biotech, கோவாக்சினோ கோவிஷீல்டோ, ரெண்டு பேரும் அந்த மாதிரி தான் கோட் கொடுத்துருக்காங்க. இப்ப டிமாண்ட் என்ன ஆகுது? How can in a country one producer giving the same item at different rate to central government and state government? இப்போ ஒரு சூட் ஃபைல் பண்ணப்படுது சுப்ரீம் கோர்ட்ல. எஸ்டர்டே சுப்ரீம் கோர்ட்டோட கமெண்ட், டே பிஃபோர் எஸ்டர்டே கொடுத்தது, எஸ்டர்டே வந்த கமெண்ட், அது very pertinent one. There they say this dual policy that is there in this vaccination program of the country seems to violate Article 14, right to equality. ஏன்னா ஈக்குவல் ப்ரொடெக்ஷன் ஆஃப் லாஸ் இல்ல. அது எப்படிங்கிறத நம்ம பார்ப்போம். பட் அதான் சொல்றாங்க நேத்து. ஏன் அப்படி இதை சொல்றேன்னா, டைரக்டா ஆர்டிகல் 14 ஒரு ஆக்ட் ஆஃப் த ஸ்டேட் வயலேட் பண்ணுதுன்னா நீங்க போலாம் கோர்ட்டுக்கு. When a state brings in a law, brings in a policy, be it state government or central government, if that violates any of the provisions of the fundamental right, you have the right to go directly to the Supreme Court or to the High Court anyway to question how can they do, because it directly violates fundamental right. ஆனால் உங்களுக்கு இப்போ டிபிஎஸ்பில அந்த மாதிரியான ஒரு இது கொண்டு வர முடியாது. ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள் ஆர்டிகல் 47 டிபிஎஸ்பில பாத்தீங்கன்னா ப்ராஹிபிஷனை பத்தி சொல்லுது. ப்ராஹிபிஷன்னா என்ன? That is ban on intoxicating drugs or liquor and all such items. ஆனா ஸ்டேட் கவர்மெண்ட் வேணும்னா பேன் பண்ணலாம். இப்ப நாளைக்கே தமிழ்நாடு கவர்மெண்ட் எல்லா டாஸ்மார்க்கையும் மூடணும், டாஸ்மார்க்கை மூடணும், then they want to put a ban, prohibition, complete prohibition. Yes, they can do. பிராக்டிக்கலா இல்லையாங்கிறது வேற. நான் சொல்றேன் yes, they can do. இல்ல இப்ப நான் பீகார்ல இருக்கு, குஜராத்ல இருக்கு, அவங்க இல்ல நாங்க ஓபன் பண்ணி விடணும், நாங்க ஓபன் தான் பண்ண போறோம், பண்ணலாம். ஏன்னா அது டிபிஎஸ்பில இருக்கு. ப்ராஹிபிஷன் பண்ணுங்க, முடிஞ்சா பண்ணுங்கன்னு இருக்கு. முடிஞ்சாலே நான் பண்ணுங்க நல்லதுன்னு இருக்கு. ஆனா அது ஒரு டைரக்டிவ் தான், கம்பல்ஷன் கிடையாது. நம்ம போய் கோர்ட்ல ஆர்டிகல் 47 ப்ராஹிபிஷன் பத்தி பேசுது. ஏன் ஸ்டேட் கவர்மெண்ட் ஓபன் பண்ணி வச்சிருக்காங்க டாஸ்மாக்? சொல்ல முடியாது, கேட்க முடியாது. யூனிஃபார்ம் சிவில் கோட் ஆர்டிகல் 44ல இருக்கு. திருமண சட்டங்கள், டைவர்ஸ் ரிலேட்டட் சட்டங்கள், கார்டியன்ஷிப், அடாப்ஷன் அது ரிலேட்டட் சட்டங்கள், இது எல்லாமே சக்சஷன், சொத்து பரிமாறுதல், இன்ஹெரிட்டன்ஸ். All these laws, Hindus have separate, Muslims have separate, Christians have separate, Farsi have separate. But Article 44 says, why can't we have one law for everyone on these matters also? Except these matters, we have one law only. Article 44. But you cannot go and ask that why state is not bringing. That you cannot demand. If state feels conducive, they can bring. If not, they may not bring. Why? This is DPSP. Justiciable, I am saying the meaning for justiciable. What you mean by justiciable and otherwise. புரியுதுன்னு நினைக்கிறேன். அப்போ ஃபண்டமெண்டல் ரைட் ஜஸ்டிசியபிள்னு சொன்னோம்னா, நமக்கு ஒரு பாலிசி, கவர்மெண்டோடைய பாலிசி நம்மளுடைய அடிப்படை உரிமைகளை மீறுவதாக இருந்தால், அதை நமக்கு அது போல தெரிஞ்சாலும் நம்ம கோர்ட்டுக்கு போலாம். டைரக்டா நீதிமன்றம் சென்று அந்த ஃபண்டமெண்டல் ரைட் அதை வயலேட் பண்ணது டைரக்டா கேட்க முடியும். ஆனால் இதே டிபிஎஸ்பில வேலை இல்லாம இருக்கும், அன்எம்ப்ளாய்டா இருக்கும். ஆர்டிகல் 41 சொல்லுது ரைட் டு ஒர்க், ஸ்டேட் ஷால் ப்ரொவைட் சொல்லுது. போக முடியுமா? ஆர்டிகல் 41 சொல்லுது ரைட் டு ஒர்க்னு. கோர்ட்டுக்கு போய் எனக்கு ஒரு வேலை வேணும், ஏன் கொடுக்கல, கேட்க முடியாது. வை? அது டிபிஎஸ்பி, ஃபண்டமெண்டல் ரைட் இல்ல. அதுதான் ஜஸ்டிசியபிள், பண்ண முடியாது. ஜுடிஷியல் ரிவ்யூ இல்ல. ஒரு பாலிசியோடைய ஜுடிஷியல் ரிவ்யூ டைரக்டா எடுத்துட்டு போக முடியாது. சட்டங்கள் அதன் அடிப்படையில் இயற்றப்பட்டிருந்தால் மட்டுமே தான். ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள், டாஸ்மாக் இப்ப நம்ம அமைக்கிறோம்னா அதுக்கு ஒரு செட் ஆஃப் ரூல்ஸ், எங்க அமைக்கப்படலாம், எங்கெல்லாம் இருக்கக்கூடாது, இந்த மாதிரி அந்த ரூல் தமிழ்நாடு கவர்மெண்ட் நோட்டிபிகேஷன்ல இருக்கிறத நம்ம விவாதிக்கலாம் கோர்ட்ல. இதுக்கேத்த மாதிரி அவங்க பண்ணல, அதனால அதை மூடணும் சொல்லலாம். So that's a different story. But directly per se, automatically, DPSP cannot be taken up before the court. But fundamental right can be. That makes fundamental right justiciable, DPSP non-justiciable. Hope you are getting it. So this is about the origins, antecedents of fundamental right. Okay. So the basic idea here, this is a basic norm and basic idea here. What we are seeing about this one, a picture about this. So anyway, we will be looking into all such things. Now see here, characteristics, I am not going to go detailed in it. One few things, this point I am going to say to you. This already I have discussed to you. Then this one we will discuss. This we will discuss. This. Fine. Now listen to me. Ellame discuss pandra. I am not going to discuss each and every item. Few items in books you can read them. But what it is, a little bit of an explanation will be helpful. So I am saying here. Fundamental rights are predominantly negative rights. Fundamental right or negative right? Okay. Predominantly negative. ஆனா நெகட்டிவ் ரைட் நம்ம ஃபுல்லா சொல்லக்கூடாது. பெர்சே நெகட்டிவ் கிடையாது. ஃபண்டமெண்டல் ரைட் குள்ள பாசிட்டிவ் ரைட் இருக்கு. என்ன சார் பாசிட்டிவ் ரைட் இது? பாசிட்டிவ்னா என்ன, நெகட்டிவ்னா என்ன? வாட் டு யூ மீன் பை பாசிட்டிவ் அண்ட் நெகட்டிவ்? Negative rights are those rights which bars the state from taking away. Listen to me. Negative right no right எப்ப சொல்றோம்னா, when we call a right as a negative right, when we are going to call means a right is already there with us. Being human, it is there with us. We are only saying our constitution has given to us Constitution has given to us. And we are saying to the government, don't take it. Negative from the point of view of government. Negative from the point of view of government. Sir, furthermore clarification. Yes. Now, right to speech, Article 19, Class 1, Subclass A, right to speech and expression. Fundamental right. அது இருக்கு. ரீசனபிள் ரெஸ்ட்ரிக்ஷன் 19 Class 2ல இருக்கு. அதை பத்தி பேசுவோம். அப்ப நம்மளுடைய ரைட்டை எது கார்னர் பண்ணுது? கான்ஸ்டிடியூஷன் நமக்கு சொல்லுது. யார் கொடுக்குறா நமக்கு ரைட் டு ஃப்ரீடம் ஆஃப் ஸ்பீச்? கான்ஸ்டிடியூஷன் கொடுக்குது. கான்ஸ்டிடியூஷன் நமக்கு ஃப்ரீடம் ஆஃப் ஸ்பீச் கொடுக்கும் பொழுது ஸ்டேட் அதை கர்டைல் பண்ணக்கூடாது. ஸ்டேட் அதை கர்டைல் பண்ணக்கூடாது. அப்ப ஸ்டேட் உடைய சுதந்திரத்தை கேப் பண்ணக்கூடிய நிலையில் இருப்பதுதான் ஃபண்டமெண்டல் ரைட். So we call it negative. It is predominantly negative, I will say, not entirely negative. Always, please, it is this word you should not forget. Predominantly negative. Why predominantly negative? Not completely negative. There are positive rights also, which I am going to say to you. But predominantly negative because from the viewpoint of the state, state is restricted from taking away your rights, which are conferred to you, given to you by the Constitution. When the Constitution provides you some right, the state cannot take away arbitrarily. தன்னிச்சையாக ஸ்டேட் உங்களுக்கு கான்ஸ்டிடியூஷன் அரசியலமைப்பு சட்டம் கொடுத்த அடிப்படை உரிமைகளை எடுப்பதற்கோ தடுப்பதற்கோ ஸ்டேட்டுக்கு உரிமை. அதுதான் நெகட்டிவ் ரைட். ஏன் நெகட்டிவ் ரைட்? ஸ்டேட்டை கர்ப் பண்ணுது, ஸ்டேட்டை ஸ்டாப் பண்ணுது. அது ஃப்ரீடமா ஆக்ட் பண்றதுல சார். அப்ப பாசிட்டிவ் ரைட்னா என்ன சார்? ஃபண்டமெண்டல் ரைட், பாசிட்டிவ் ரைட். Positive right, if you see, what are the positive right? Where state is asked to do something. இப்ப நீங்க பார்க்கலாம் 41 சொன்னேன் நான். ரைட் டு ஒர்க். அதுலயே நீங்க பார்க்கலாம் அன்எம்ப்ளாய்மெண்ட் அலவன்ஸ், ஏஜ் ஓல்டேஜ் சிக்னஸ், இதுக்கெல்லாம் ஸ்டேட் கவனிங்க. ஸ்டேட் சொல்றாங்க you better do. Constitution is saying why not state take care of it. Providing education and other opportunities for the development of scheduled caste and scheduled tribes and other weaker sections of the population. Article 45. முயற்சி எடுங்க. ஸ்காலர்ஷிப் கொடுக்கப்படுது. அதெல்லாம் கான்ஸ்டிடியூஷனல் ரைட் கிடையாது. ஆனா டிபிஎஸ்பி சொல்லுது நீங்க ஏதாவது ஒரு முயற்சி வீக்கர் செக்ஷன்ஸ் ஆஃப் பாப்புலேஷன்ஸ்க்கு, எஸ்சி எஸ்டிக்கு, அவங்களுக்கு அவங்களுடைய முன்னேற்றத்தில் எஜுகேஷன்லயும் ஒரு முயற்சி ஸ்டேட் எடுக்கலாம். ப்ரோஹிபிஷன். அப்போ asking the state to do something. Here restricting the state. Who restricts? Constitution restricts. Who pushes? Constitution pushes. But Constitution எங்கெல்லாம் ஸ்டேட் ஆஃப் செய்யன்னு சொல்லுதோ அந்த பாசிட்டிவ் ரைட் இருக்கு. நான் சொல்றது எங்கெல்லாம்னா டிபிஎஸ்பி மட்டும் தான் சொல்றேன். அது ஜஸ்டிசியபிள் கிடையாது, ஆட்டோமேட்டிக்கா ஜஸ்டிசியபிள் கிடையாது. பட் நெகட்டிவ் ரைட்ஸ் ஆட்டோமேட்டிக்கலா ஜஸ்டிசியபிள். ஸ்டேட்டை புல் பண்றது, அதாவது ஸ்டேட்டை ஒன்னு சொல்றது என்ன, தயவு செய்து எதுவும் செய்யாம இருந்தா போதும். மக்களுக்கு கொடுக்கப்பட்டிருக்கிற ரைட் கான்ஸ்டிடியூஷன்ல இருக்கிறது அவங்க பாத்துக்குவாங்க. யூ ப்ளீஸ் டோன்ட் டு, யூ டோன்ட் டிஸ்டர்ப் இட். அதுதான் predominantly negative. சார் இப்ப predominantனு ஒரு வேர்டை ஸ்ட்ரெஸ் பண்ணிட்டே இருக்கிறீங்க. You are stressing the word predominant. What do you mean by it? Why I say whole of fundamental right is not negative? Because if you see there are provisions in the fundamental right which are positive too. For example, 15 Clause 3. See, if you are having this book, that would be more helpful for me now. If you are having this Barak book, that would be more helpful for me now. When I say an article, you should be able to open up and see that. 15 Clause 3, if you see, nothing in the above article shall restrict the state from providing special provisions or upliftment, protection for scheduled caste and women, children and other weaker sections of population. Other social and educationally backward class of citizens. That is 15.4. 15.3 விமனுக்கும் சில்ட்ரனுக்கும், அதாவது 15.1 2 டிஸ்கிரிமினேஷனை பத்தி பேசுது. ஆனா 15.3 எக்ஸெப்ஷன். அது என்ன சொல்லுது? இத டிஸ்கிரிமினேஷன் ஆன் தி பேசிஸ் ஆஃப் செக்ஸ் இருக்கக்கூடாதுதான். ஆனால் அந்த இருக்கக்கூடாதுன்னு சொல்லக்கூடிய ஒரு விஷயம், ஸ்டேட் ஏதாவது ஒரு முயற்சி பெண்களையோ குழந்தைகளையோ பாதுகாப்பதற்கும் அவர்களை முன்னேற்றுவதற்கும் எடுத்தால் அது தவறல்ல, டிஸ்கிரிமினேஷனாக எதிர்கொள்ளப்படாது அப்படின்னு சொல்லி 15 clause 3 சொல்லப்படுது. அப்ப அது பாசிட்டிவ் ரைட். அப்ப ஸ்டேட் வந்து விமனுக்காகவும் சில்ட்ரனுக்காகவும் செய்யலாம். 15(4) socially and educationally backward class citizen state செய்யலாம். 16 clause 4 OBC செய்யலாம். ரிசர்வேஷன் இன் ஜாப்ஸ் ஓபிசிக்கு 16 clause 4 கொடுக்கலாம் இருக்கு. சோ இதெல்லாம் இதெல்லாம் எக்ஸாம்பிள் சொல்றேன் பாசிட்டிவ் ரைட். அப்போ ஃபண்டமெண்டல் ரைட் இஸ் predominantly negative, very rarely positive, and these are examples of positive. So only we call fundamental rights are predominantly negative and not completely negative. Okay, keep it. Justiciable and justifiable right already I have said. Sir, then what it is? Suspension of rights. Can fundamental right be suspended? Question. Prelims numerous times asked the question. Yes. Fundamental rights can be suspended during emergency. Where did we take this provision from? Adapt or borrowed this provision from? Listen to me. Suspension of fundamental right during emergency as a content, as a concept we have adapted from Weimar Constitution of Germany. I am making it very clear. See, because a request has coming to me stating that, sir, please make it bilingual. I am using it more bilingual. Usually I am not much used for taking a bilingual class on polity. But anyway, I am trying my best to do. And Tamil being my mother tongue, that's a problem for me. But I am trying my best. Few words I may not able to exactly translate and say to you. Exactly, அப்படி தமிழ்ல அதனால அதை கொஞ்சம் அட்ஜஸ்ட் பண்ணிக்கிங்க. பட் அந்த டிமாண்ட் நீங்க அதை வைக்கிறனால ஃபைன், நம்மளால முடிஞ்ச வரலையும் உங்களுக்கு அது அட் எண்ட் ஆஃப் த டே யூ ஷுட் அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்ட் இஸ் வாட் சொல்றேன். இது நல்லா பாருங்க. சஸ்பென்ஷன் ஆஃப் ஃபண்டமெண்டல் ரைட்டை சஸ்பெண்ட் பண்ண முடியுமா? பண்ணலாம். எப்ப பண்ணலாம்? எமர்ஜென்சி காலங்கள்ல செய்யலாம். அதுக்கு ப்ரொவிஷன் இருக்கா? இருக்கு. Those articles which speak about emergency, part 18 of Indian Constitution speaks about emergency. Article 352 to Article 360 speak about emergency. In that, if you see, Article 358 and 359 exclusively deal with emergency. In that, it speaks that 358 and 359 on the exclusively fundamental right emergency. That is suspension of fundamental right during emergency. It exclusively deals. In that, what it says, where have we adapted? We adapted this from Weimar Constitution of Germany. Germany in சொல்லக்கூடாது. எமர்ஜென்சி நம்ம ரெண்டு இடத்துல இருந்து அடாப்ட் பண்ணியிருக்கோம். ஒன்னு எமர்ஜென்சி ப்ரொவிஷன்ஸ் 1935 ஆக்ட், மெஜாரிட்டி ஆஃப் இட் we adapted from 1935 act, and few among it we have adapted from the Weimar Constitution of Germany. That is suspension of fundamental right. Suspension of fundamental right during emergency alone we have adapted from Weimar Constitution of Germany. Hope you are understanding it. This is very important. So don't confuse. Overall Germany you should not say it's Weimar Constitution. ஏன்னா 1919 இருந்து 1933 வரைக்கும் தான் இந்த கான்ஸ்டிடியூஷன் இருந்தது ஜெர்மனில. அதுக்கப்புறம் ஹிட்லர் வந்து ஆட்சிக்கு வந்தது இந்த கான்ஸ்டிடியூஷனை பயன்படுத்தி தான். அதுக்கப்புறம் வந்தோடனே இந்த கான்ஸ்டிடியூஷன் வேலை இல்லாம போச்சு. So then after the fall of Hitler and all, they created a new one. So Weimar Constitution of Germany, we adapted this provision. During emergency, if at all as of now only understand this, while if at all when we get a chance to take emergency separately I will handle it this one. When the emergency proclaimed is external. What is external emergency? Emergency on the basis of external aggression or war or external aggression. போர் காரணமாகவோ வெளிநாடோட ஒரு போர் காரணமாகவோ the external aggression, வெளியிருந்து வர்ற ஒரு அக்ரஷன்னாலயோ ஃபாரின் கண்ட்ரி, war or external aggression, if at all it is due to war or then we call it external. External emergency is invoked. President invokes emergency in India. External emergency அதுக்கு பேர் தான் external emergency implement பண்ணும் பொழுது automatically Article 19 is suspended. That is what 358 says. 358 says Article 19 automatically suspended. When external emergency proclaimed. External emergency proclaimed. When emergency proclaimed is internal or external. When emergency proclaimed is internal or external. It can be internal, can be external. President specifies which are all the articles in fundamental right be suspended. Yes, under 359. It can be external, can be internal. இப்போ அது வந்து பிரசிடென்ட்டே ஸ்பெசிஃபை பண்ணுவார். 359 மூலியமா பண்ணா அது எக்ஸ்டர்னலாகவும் இருக்கலாம், இன்டர்னலாகவும் இருக்கலாம். எமர்ஜென்சி இன்டர்னல் எமர்ஜென்சிங்கிறது வந்து ஆர்ம்டு ரெபல்லியன், ஸ்டேட்குள்ளார ஆர்ம்டு ரெபல்லியன் இருந்துச்சுன்னா, ஒரு ஆயுதம் தாங்கிய போர், இந்திய அரசை லீகலா எலக்ட் பண்ணப்பட்ட ஒரு அரசை ஓவர் த்ரோ பண்ண ஒரு ஆயுதம் தாங்கிய போர் நடந்தால் அதெல்லாம் ஆர்ம்டு ரெபல்லியன் சொல்றோம். அது இன்டர்னல் எமர்ஜென்சின்னு சொல்லுவோம். அது இன்டர்னலாக இருந்தாலும் எக்ஸ்டர்னலாக இருந்தாலும் பிரசிடென்ட் குறிப்பிட்டால் 359ல அதற்கு ப்ரொவிஷன், பிரசிடென்ட் இந்தந்த ஃபண்டமெண்டல் ரைட்லாம் சஸ்பெண்ட் ஆகுது, எமர்ஜென்சி இப்ப நம்ம இன்வோக் பண்றனால அவர் சொன்னால், எஸ், any of the fundamental right can be suspended except 20 and 21. அதான் catch. Except Article 20 and Article 21. So except Article 20 and 21. So Article 20யும் 21யும் suspend பண்ணவே முடியாது. After 44th Amendment Act இது வந்தது. While teaching emergency separately we will take about that. So except Article 20 and 21, every other fundamental right can be suspended if at all the President proclaims an internal or external emergency. Any of it. Any of it. Hope you are understanding it. Important item. Prelims asked. Prelims asked. Modalla time back this has been asked. Okay, keep it in mind. Fine. இப்போ இந்த ஒரு பார்ட் no natural right nu போட்டுருங்க. Fundamental rights are not natural rights. What is the meaning? Fundamental rights are not natural rights. Rather they are conferred right. ஏன் natural right இல்லைங்கிறோம்னா, for our basic understanding I am saying, natural right அப்படின்னா இயற்கையாக இருக்கக்கூடியவை, இயற்கையாக available, that is in the state of nature it is available to man. இது யாரோ கொடுத்ததில்ல, அது அப்படியே நேச்சர்ல மனுஷனாக இயற்கையிலேயே அது அவைலபிள் அப்படிங்கிறது தான். அது உண்மையா அப்படின்னு பாத்தீங்கன்னா, ஃபண்டமெண்டல் ரைட் நேச்சுரல் ரைட் கிடையாது. ஏன் நேச்சுரல் ரைட் கிடையாது? அது நேச்சுரல் ரைட்னு சொன்னீங்கன்னா யார் எதை வேணாலும் ஃபண்டமெண்டல் ரைட் நினைச்சுக்கலாம். யார் எதை வேணாலும், உணவு இல்லாதவன் உணவு எப்படி வேணாலும் எடுக்கிறது என் ஃபண்டமெண்டல் ரைட்னு நினைச்சுக்கலாம். இப்படி அவன் தேவைகள் எல்லாத்தையுமே ஃபண்டமெண்டல் ரைட் நினைச்சுக்கலாம். அது இல்ல. கன்ஃபர்டு ரைட். என்ன கன்ஃபர்டு? யார் கன்ஃபர்ட்? கன்ஃபர்ட்னா வழங்கப்பட்டவை. யார் வழங்குறது? கவர்மெண்டா? கிடையாது. கான்ஸ்டிடியூஷன். These are conferred rights given by the Constitution. Fundamental rights are conferred rights given by the Constitution. These are not natural rights just available in the state of nature. Getting it or not? So keep it in mind, the difference. I'm making it very lucid and putting it to you. That's it. Then this point is important. This point, if you see, listen to me, important. Fundamental rights are basically available only against the state, not against private individual. Listen to me. Fundamental right, Article 12 to 35. Idhula குறிப்பா பாத்தீங்கன்னா 12 separate, 13 separate. Later we will see Article 14ல இருந்து ஆரம்பிச்சு Article 30 வரலையும் exclusively speaking. ஏன்னா 31 exception, 32 remedy, 33, 34 again exception. So இந்த 30 வரலையும் இருக்கிறது தான் particular rights வருது. அதுக்குள்ளாரே exception வேற இருக்கு. These rights, Article 14 to 30, whatever the rights that are there, if you see that one, those rights, listen to me very carefully, those rights that predominantly, mostly available only against state, except few where even against private individual also. For example, சொல்றேன். நல்லா listen பண்ணுங்க இங்க. அப்பதான் இது புரியும். இப்போ ஆர்டிகல் 19 வந்து freedom of movement 19 class 1 subclass D சொல்லுது. ஆர்டிகல் 19 class 1 subclass A freedom of speech and expression இருக்கு. இப்போ வீட்ல எல்லாருக்குமே அனுபவம் வரும். You all are hopefully graduates. We all would have witnessed it at home. Default, we would have witnessed it. In home, when we used to talk to parents or elders, sometimes, particularly when we were very young or even the teenage time, the parents used to say, you are talking too much. Beyond your age, you are talking. Shut your mouth. Or if you say, I am going for a second show movie at night 10 o'clock, and or 12 o'clock you say that I just want to go out for a walk. Your parent may say, I will lock you. What? How dare you say like that night you are going out? இப்போ உங்க parents இந்த மாதிரி சொன்னாலோ பெரியவர்கள் சொன்னாலோ இல்ல கிளாஸ்ல when a teacher is teaching to you and you keep on teaching to the back to the teacher something you are speaking, can you claim that as your fundamental right to freedom of speech 19(1)(a) I have right, who are you to stop me? Can you go to the court and say, my father asked me to shut up? What right has he got to ask me to shut up? Because I am talking, my freedom of speech. Can you say, my mother did not allow me to go out at night 12 o'clock? Can you say? You cannot say. Court will not admit it. Why? Against private individual. That is against private individual. If the state curbs your speech, if state curbs your speech, if state curbs your movement, then you can go to court. So, fundamental right, when violated by the state, you can go, not against private individual. Except when it is about Article 15, Clause 2, please, these things, please note it down. Books are having, anyway, I'm saying this. 15, Clause 2, Article 17, Article 23, Article 24. It is these 4 articles where even against private individual you can go. 15 clause 2, discrimination. ஒரு பப்ளிக் பிளேஸ்ல உங்களை டிஸ்கிரிமினேட் பண்ணப்படுறீங்க, ஒரு பிரைவேட் இண்டிவிஜுவல் டிஸ்கிரிமினேட் பண்ண, நீ கருப்பா இருக்க நீ உள்ளார வராத, நீ வெள்ளையா இருக்க நீ உள்ளார வரக்கூடாது, நீ இந்த ஜாதி நீ வரக்கூடாது, நீ இந்த மதம் வரக்கூடாது அப்படின்னு ஒரு பப்ளிக் பிளேஸ்ல சொன்னா, ஒரு பிரைவேட் இண்டிவிஜுவல், அதாவது ஒரு ஹோட்டல் நடத்துறாரு ஒரு இண்டிவிஜுவல், அவரு ஹோட்டல் தான், இட் இஸ் ஹிஸ் ஓன் ஹோட்டல், he is the owner of it, but that person says only this caste people should come, only that religion should come, only this race should come. You can go to court even against a private individual because it's a commercial one, open for everyone. You can go to court. 15 class 2. 17, untouchability. Even if a private individual, 2-tumbler system, if someone practice untouchability, about that later we will see. But whatever form of untouchability is practiced, private individual practice pannalo, yes, you can go, stating that my fundamental right is violated. Article 23 and 24, trafficking in human being, forced labor, bonded labor. If you are asked to do, a private individual is doing, or if somebody comes, your father got money, you see, he has said, for the money that what he has got, he will work for me, bonded labor. And so now you should also work, then only you can pay, means you can go to court. First of all, my father itself cannot do, that agreement is farce. Secondly, Article 23 says that forced labor cannot be there. Individuals, against individual you can go. Child labor, for Article 24, yes, you can go against even private individual. A private individual in his own shop or a factory, he is involving children to work, yes, you can go. Below the age of 14 and all is there, that later on we will see. All he can do. So, except for these 15 clause 2, 17, 23, 24, only against state you can go. Only against state, not against private individual. Not against private individual. Hope you are getting it. Okay, that. Then another one thing. Article 17 and 24. or the Article 17 and 24. Okay, no. Article 17 and 24 are the only absolute right. This all book you can see. But the problem is, books have not explained. So understand this. Sir, what do we mean by absolute right? Understand this. See, the explanation book or matter இருக்குது ஆனா explanation பெருசா இல்லைங்கற ஐட்டத்தை தான் நான் டிஸ்கஸ் பண்றேன். இதுவும் புக்ஸ்ல இருக்கு. பட் explanation வேணும். என்ன absolute rightனா எதனால சார் absolute rightனு சொல்றோம்? Why 17 and 24 books are writing are only absolute rights and not fundamental rights. Rest are not absolute rights. Why? What is absolute right here? Listen to me. What you call as absolute right? See, Article 17. நீங்க அதை எடுத்து படிச்சீங்கன்னா தெரியும். அற்புதமான ஆர்டிகல். What it says. Untouchability is abolished. Its practice in any form is punishable by law. See, the word is abolished. To be abolished. இன்னைக்கு untouchability இருக்கு. இருந்தாலும் ஆனா கான்ஸ்டிடியூஷன் சொல்லக்கூடிய வார்த்தை என்ன? அது முடிஞ்சிருச்சு. எந்த விதத்துல அது பிராக்டிஸ் பண்ணாலும் சட்டத்தால் தண்டிக்கப்பட வேண்டியது. முடிஞ்சிருச்சு. இஃப் பட் எல்லாம் கிடையாதுங்க. எக்ஸெப்ஷன் கிடையாது. இதெல்லாம் இல்ல, அப்படி எல்லாம் கிடையாது. Simple, there is no exception to it. Article 17, clear cut, straight, bang on. Absolute. Untouchability is abolished. Practice in any form, punishable by law. Finished. What is it? 17. So, if but எல்லாம் கிடையாது. அந்த எக்ஸெப்ஷன் எல்லாம் இல்ல. இப்போ நீங்க freedom of speech 19 class 1 class A எடுத்துக்கிட்டீங்கன்னா freedom of speech and expression பார்க்கலாம். But on the freedom of speech and expressionல you have this exception 19 class 2. நான் நடத்தும்போது உங்களுக்கு when I take that I will explain you. 19 class 2ல ஒரு 8 criteria state can restrict our freedom of speech based on those criteria. The security of state, friendly relation with foreign state, defamation. Because I have freedom of speech, can I say anybody anything about anybody anything? About state anything also. So there is a limit for everything. Contempt. So இது எல்லாத்துலயுமே freedom of speech restrict பண்ண முடியும். 8 criteria இருக்கு. About that criteria we will see. It can restrict. So அங்க என்ன அது absolute right கிடையாது. Freedom of speech and expression absolute கிடையாது. அது qualified by 19(2). அதோடைய reasonable restriction இருக்கு. பட் இங்க பாத்தீங்கன்னா 17ல அப்படி ஒண்ணு இல்லவே இல்லை. Untouchability abolish முடிஞ்சிருச்சு. 24ல அதேதான். 24ல இல்ல. 23ல கூட இருக்கு. 23 class 2 exception actually. Other later I will get back to you. 24ல அது இல்ல. Children below the age of 14 shall not be made to work in hazardous industry. Finished. Bottom line done. So children below the age of 14 cannot be made to work in hazardous industry. Bottom line done. Finished. அதோட முடிஞ்சிருச்சு. அங்கி if but எல்லாம் இல்ல. Exception class இல்ல. So 17 and 24 are absolute right. Rest are not absolute rights. Hope I have made my point very clear. These are all some places where you need a specific introduction. Now, if you see here, the division இருக்கு இல்லையா, such a easy item. Last year 2020 question was asked. This untouchability related offense, I suppose, about that. Discrimination and touchability are related to, comes under which part within fundamental right? A question was such a easy question. ஆனா அது ஈஸின்னு சொல்றோம், அதுல ஒரு கன்ஃபியூஷன் இருக்கு. இப்போ exploitation இல்ல untouchabilityங்கும் போது நமக்கு இமீடியட்டா மைண்ட்ல வர்றதுனா exploitation. The immediate thing that comes into our mind when we look into this exploitation, that is untouchability is exploitation. When that comes that way, if it strikes, listen to me. We may think in that last year option they have also given Article 23-24. That also they gave right against exploitation. That word was given. Right to equality, right against exploitation. Some other two are given. If suddenly we would have jumped, we would have gone there also, we would have thought that it's 23. But untouchability comes in 17, which is part of right to equality. So this one is also important. It is there in Barak, books, everywhere it is there. Last time asked, last 2020 asked the question, 2020 asked the question, this one. Right to equality was answered. So here, when we divide the fundamental right, Article 12 is a separate right that it explains defined state. We will see that. Separate one. Why it defines, we will see. What it defines, we will see. Article 13 speaks about judicial review. Not only Article 13, there are numerous articles which speaks about judicial review. One of the most important is Article 13. Article 14 to 18 speak about right to equality. Article 20, Article 19 to 22, we call it right to freedom. 22 can be a separate right also, but put together we can also call. Right against exploitation, 23 and 24. 25 to 28, secular rights or right of religion or secular Indian rights, secular fundamental rights. 29 and 30, cultural and religious, this educational minority right, this educational rights, cultural, educational minority rights. Then Article 32, Constitution remedy. Apart from this, if you see, within it, exceptions are there. Like how I told, 19 class 2 exception there, 15 class 3, 15 class 4, 15 class 5, 15 class 6 exception there, 16 class 4, 16 3, 16 4, 16 4A, 4B, 16 5, 16 6 exception only. Likewise, there are numerous exceptions. 23 class exception. But those are all exception to what has been said in that very article. 19 class 19B, 19.3 exception. But if you see this 31 article 31A, capital letter A, 31B, 31C. Listen carefully here. Capital letter A, B, C. I am putting it very clear. Capital letter A, capital letter B, capital letter C. These we mean Article 31A, 31B, 31C are exception to whole fundamental right thing. Much of it. Not whole in the sense, much of it. Exception. 31 is not there now. We have brought it through First Amendment Act as well as through the 25th Amendment Act, 31C. Then 33 exception. 34 exception. That is exception for the working of fundamental right. யாருக்கெல்லாம் fundamental right தவிர்க்கப்படலாம். இப்போ 33 defense officials, paramilitary forces, people working with bureaus, the intelligence bureau, RAW and all. For them, you can cut short the working of fundamental right. Similarly, for others, if you say the example of this 34, if you see martial law, when military rule or martial law is in place, that place also you can cut short, curb fundamental right. About that, after when we see those articles, we would be seeing those are all typical exception. 35 is on sort of an what to say explanatory class. About that also we will be seeing. Now this grouping is also important. Last year asked the question. Okay. Now let us go through Article 12. I am making one thing very clear to you. We have to go fast. So what is what I am going to say, unless otherwise context requires. Any question that you have not understood or you want a clarification, you are ready, you are free to put it in question. That way we can handle it. Because I don't know what has been handled before to you. So the way that I am moving, let me move here fast, and basic explanation I have done. And listen to me now. What is state? Sir, first and foremost thing, why should the definition of state be there in the first starting point of fundamental right? First question I am putting. Article 12 starts with definition of state. Why do you want to define state there? Why? Fundamental right for citizens, non-citizen humans. People who are there in India, residing in India, you are giving means you give. Why are you quoting this one and all? Why, first of all, this comes? What state to be defined at the start of fundamental right? Listen to me. What did we see? Except 15 class 2, 17, 23, 24. Except 15 class 2, 17, 23 and 24. All the items. Wait. Our audio is getting disturbed. I think it is good only. Others also please have a look. I suppose it's good only. Let me see. I suppose it's good. Is it okay now? Is it okay? Audio, is it okay now? Disturbed audio. Okay, just a minute. So it's a network related issue. I have changed the network. Now I think the audio would be proper. Now you see whether how the audio is. It would be proper now. Now the audio would be proper. I suppose. Please see how the audio is because I have changed the network. Earlier it was in a different one and I have changed the network. Now it would be a little better. Please have a look at the audio. Then you can say to me. Then that's okay. Then it's fine. It would be fine. Fine. Let's handle it now. Listen. So why Article 12? Why should Article 12 be there in the starting first of all? Why you start by defining Article 12? Why should the Constitution start by defining Article 12? Listen to me. Article 15, Article 7, 15 clause 2, 17, 23, 24 we saw. Only these articles when violated, even against a private individual, you can go take up the case. If not so, only against state you can go. Fine. Only against state you can. State curbs. State treats me unequally. State discriminates me. State is not giving me equal opportunity. State is curbing my freedom of speech or movement or residence. State is unduly taking over my life or personal liberty. Yes. State curbs my religious right. Fine, you can go directly to Supreme Court or High Court. That we have seen. Now the first question is, all fine, what is state? State means I may mean something, you may mean something, everybody may mean something. State may not be universally meant by all. That is where law comes. See, law la vandu ennaikume indha law illa endha law layume solren. Ambiguity irukka koodathu. Ambiguity irundha purpose mudinjiruchu. நீங்க என்னதான் ஒரு சூப்பர்ஃபிஷியலா ஒரு லாவை நம்ம ஏற்றி ஆனா அதுல ஒரு ஆம்பிகுட்டி இருக்குன்னா அதை இம்ப்ளிமெண்ட் பண்றவங்க ஒன்ன புரிஞ்சுக்குவாங்க, பாலிசி மேக் பண்ணவங்க ஒன்ன புரிஞ்சிருப்பாங்க, அது யாருக்காக இம்ப்ளிமெண்ட் பண்ணப்படுதோ அவங்க ஒன்ன புரிஞ்சிருப்பாங்க. ஆளாளுக்கு ஒரு டிமாண்ட் பண்ணுவாங்க. ஆளாளுக்கு டிமாண்ட் பண்ணும்போது கடைசியா எண்ட பாருது எங்க எண்ட போகும், அந்த ஹோல் எக்ஸிகியூஷனே இம்ப்ராப்பரா போயிடும். இட் ஆல் வில் கோ வேஸ்ட். So there is a need for definition. What is state? You say I can go against state. First define state. Which is that you call as state that I can go against? Who all, when curb, take away my rights, I can go to court. So Article 12, see the wonder. So they start by defining state. In the article, one of the least asked questions among the fundamental rights, least asked questions. Many places books do have about this. Many places they hardly explain about this article also, but you shall be knowing about this article. But means there is a potentiality to for a question to be asked. Prelims, I don't think so. But in some, for example, in Karnataka, last year, I suppose, before year, departmental exam, or a forest departmental exam happened. There actually, a student of me has sent that question to me. That there they have asked a question in Article 12. Otherwise, I hardly see Article 12 getting asked in prelims paper. But that too, the question was general current affairs related. How it becomes current affairs related, I will say to you. Now listen to me. Let us get into state what Article 12 says. The first two items are very, very easy. State means, see, it starts with unless the context otherwise requires. In this part means part 3. In this part means part 3, fundamental right. Unless the context otherwise requires. Unless the context otherwise requires, state includes. State means. Listen carefully, sir. What? Unless, listen carefully. Unless the context otherwise requires. See, இதே பார்ட்ல பார்ட் 3லயே ஏதாவது ஒரு இடத்துல இந்த டெஃபினிஷன் ஆஃப் ஸ்டேட் தேவைப்படாமல் வேறு டெஃபினிஷன் அல்லது வேறு அர்த்தம் தேவைப்பட்டால் அந்த இடங்களை தவிர, அப்போ அது எக்ஸாம்பிள் என்னன்னு பாத்தீங்கன்னா அந்த 19(2) இருக்கு, ஆர்டிகல் 19 கிளாஸ் 2. இதுல செக்யூரிட்டி ஆஃப் ஸ்டேட்னு சொல்லி வரும். 19(2)ல மட்டும் இல்ல, அது பல ஆர்டிகல்ல 19(2) ஈவன் திஸ் even 3-4 பப்ளிக் ஆர்டர் அதெல்லாம் வரும். இதுல செக்யூரிட்டி ஆஃப் ஸ்டேட் 19(2)ல ஸ்பெசிஃபிக்கா வரும். ஃப்ரீடம் ஆஃப் ஸ்பீச் கேன் பி ரெஸ்ட்ரிக்டட் ஆன் த பேசிஸ் ஆஃப் செக்யூரிட்டி ஆஃப் ஸ்டேட். அங்க வந்து இந்த டெஃபினிஷன் ஆகாது. அங்க ஸ்டேட்ங்கிறது இந்த ஃபர்ஸ்ட் ஜெனரலா நம்ம பார்க்கக்கூடிய டெரிட்டரி. See, state is a political science topic. Even philosophy, socio-political philosophy, political science, state is a typical topic. What is state? In fact, if you see even public administration, whoever might have option, public administration, second paper, if you see Kaudalya, the medieval Mughal administration, British administration, and all will be there. Similarly, state as a very topic is there in political science option. And in fact, in socio-political philosophy, second paper, you will find a topic on that as a separate one. About sovereignty, there we will discuss about state also. Why I am saying this is, state itself is a topic to be discussed. Generally, I am saying this is out of this one I am saying. State, when we say, what do you mean? Kaudalya gives a long list, 6+1, later on they add. That all is a component of state. Both in Austin, these are the European scholars who wrote on sovereignty, they may have a different definition. So people who have written on state, what amounts to state, many have said many things, but one thing is for sure, combinedly put, state means where everybody accepts it. Everybody who have given definition have accepted to this very conception of state. What, sir? 4 criteria. I am saying basic, not related to 12. I am saying basic item. 4 criteria. 1, state shall have territory. 2, it shall have sovereignty. 3, government then sovereignty. That is, there shall be a government, king, government, whatever you want to put it, you put it. Then sovereignty. Sovereignty means what? Unquestionable command, where the command of the government is not questioned internally or externally. It's unquestionable. Sovereignty. Then, when you come to this people, 4 criteria. இது வந்து யாரு இந்த 7 criteria சொன்னாலும் சரி, 10 criteria சொன்னாலும் சரி, 5 சொன்னாலும் சரி, எல்லாரும் ஒத்துக்கிற விஷயம். Sovereignty, government, territory, then people. இதனால தான் ஸ்டேட்ங்கிறது அமையுது. இதுதான் ஸ்டேட். இப்போ நான் வந்து ஸ்டேட்னா அப்படி மீன் பண்ணலாம், ஒவ்வொருத்தரும் ஒவ்வொரு மீனிங் எடுத்துக்கலாம். இப்போ இந்த ஆர்டிகல் 19(2) வர்ற ஸ்டேட் நான் சொல்றத 4 கிரைட்டீரியா உள்ள நார்மல் ஸ்டேட் மீனிங். ஓகேவா? அண்ட் அதுதான் வந்து ஆரம்பமே, unless the context otherwise requires. Okay, if at all you have understood what I have said, put an arrow mark in your Barak book along with this article. இந்த ஆர்டிகல்ல Barak bookல இத நான் அண்டர்லைன் பண்ணத பண்ணி அங்க ஒரு arrow mark போட்டு 19 class 2 அங்க நீங்க போடலாம். அப்ப நீங்க அதை படிக்கும்போது உங்களுக்கு ரிமெம்பரன்ஸ் வரும். See, the best way to read constitution for exams is through this. இதன் மூலியமா, பாராக் மூலியமா, அதாவது ஒரிஜினல் கான்ஸ்டிடியூஷனல் டெக்ஸ்ட் மூலியமா படிச்சு பழகிட்டீங்கன்னா லட்சுமிகாந்த் புக் would be a boon for you. That boon means அது ஒரு வரம் மாதிரி இருக்கும் உங்களுக்கு. ஏன்னா இதுல இருந்து அதிகமான எக்ஸ்பிளனேஷன்ஸ் அங்க நீங்க பார்க்க முடியும், புரிதல் பெருசா இருக்கும், மறக்க மாட்டோம். ஆனா லட்சுமிகாந்த் புக்லயே ஆரம்பம் படிச்சோம்னா பேஸ் கிரியேட் பண்ணாம போறோம்னு அர்த்தம். சோ பேஸ் வந்து இதாதான் இருக்கணும். அதுக்கு initially it will be a little tough, but that's the procedure I am saying. That's the procedure. I am saying, take my word, for this exam that is the procedure. Initially it may be tough, and again read it this way, unless the context. Okay, arrow mark, if you have understood what it is trying to say, 19 class 2 anga neenga arrow mark போட்டு வைக்கணும். இத படிக்கும்போது அது நினைப்புக்கு வரணும். ஓகே, இந்த இடங்கள்ல இது அர்த்தம் இல்ல, ஏன்னா அது நமக்கே தெரியும், அது படிக்கும்போது அது அர்த்தமாக முடியாது. Okay, got it. Now come back. And in this part, unless the context otherwise requires, the state includes government and parliament of India. One criteria. இப்போ நீங்க பார்க்கலாம், இங்க bracketல போடலாம். Then in bracket you can put central government or union government. Any way you can put. So whatever actions done by the government and the parliament of India, that is executive and legislature, central executive, central legislature. Vaccine policy was not a law, it was an executive idea. That is what is questioned in court against state, getting it or not. That is government. Parliament, law, formulas, question. The 3 formulas made, questioned in the court. Parliament making legislature, state. Got it, I got for 1. 2. The government of state, that is executive, and legislature of state, that is 2. 3. There comes the catch. All local or other authorities within the territory of India. All local or other authority within the territory of India. State is a boundary in which law enforced. Ganesh answered. Okay, that is your answer. Fine, you are not asking a question. Fine. State is the boundary in which law is enforced. It seems to be a nice definition type of a quote actually, but again we are looking into a broader idea. It's a boundary where law is enforced. Who enforces law? Can everyone enforce law? Law is something. Who can enforce? You need a government legally elected. When you call it, then it has to have sovereign powers. At the end of the day, to whom are you going to enforce the law? You need people. Without people, where will a law be enforced? Is that law for animals? Or even if animals not there, what to do? So these are all part of it. But whatever you have said, but that's furthermore an explanation of it is what I have put before you. Okay, fine. You have answered. Ganesh, good. Now coming back here. All local or other authorities within the territory of India or under the control of government of India. Please listen to me. All local, you can get it. So what is all local? Panchayats to municipalities to cantonment boards to port trust, all these forms of local corporations. Yes, all they are local authority. They also bring in certain rules and laws. See, even panchayats have 29 items panchayats have control on. 18 items municipality have control on. Items means they can make regulations on those items. State government can transfer those items. 29 items among the state list, 29 items it can transfer to them. That they can make law. panchayats. If at all the state wants, it can do. 18 items to municipality, it can do. So what if they make a regulation rule even against a municipality, against a corporation, you can go to court because it is state. Okay, now comes the catch. It is for that only reason we are explaining this. Other authority. Sir, what do you mean by other authority? The makers of the constitution were so wise. They intentionally kept it here. The word, actually it is an ambiguous word. Actually it is an ambiguous word. But they have kept it here, other authority. Why should they keep this word other authority there? What have they got by keeping it? See, they have placed it there because they have left for the court to decide from time to time which all items, which all organizations, institutions you can bring under the context of state, definition of state. Yeah. இப்போ ஒரு யூனிவர்சிட்டி அது ஸ்டேட்டா இல்லையாங்கிற கொஸ்டின் வருது. அந்த யூனிவர்சிட்டி நீங்க ஸ்டேட்னு சொல்லிட்டா, கோர்ட் சொல்லிட்டா, அதாவது அதர் அத்தாரிட்டிக்குள்ளார அது ஸ்டேட் ஆகுது அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டா, if a university is brought under the definition of state, who benefits? The employees in that very university, the students of that university, everybody will benefit. Because directly you can go to Supreme Court also when your fundamental right is violated. Illana the private person ஆயிடும். Getting it or not? Only 15 clause 2, 17, 23, 24 violated alone you can do. So other authority as a word has enabled. What is the job of legislature? Making law and providing for executive. இதுதான் executive அதால provide பண்ணுது. இந்தியாலலாம் வந்து வெஸ்ட்மினிஸ்டர் மாடல் ஆஃப் பார்லிமெண்டரி சிஸ்டம் நம்ம ஃபாலோ பண்றோம். லெஜிஸ்லேச்சரும் எக்ஸிகியூட்டிவும் ஒன்னா தான் இருக்கும். சிஎம் comes from where? Legislature only. So our legislaturely part, executive. Ministers எல்லாம் எங்க இருந்து வராங்க? அசெம்பிளில இருந்து தான் அங்க போவாங்க. பிரைம் மினிஸ்டர் எங்க இருந்து போறாரு? பார்லிமெண்ட்ல இருந்து போவாரு. பிரைம் மினிஸ்டரோட மினிஸ்டர்ஸ் எங்க? பார்லிமெண்ட்ல இருந்து தான் போவாங்க. So legislature, executive ஒண்ணு. What is the job of legislature then? To provide for executive, members for executive, as well as to make law and also to question the executive. Except for the ministers, others will question them. Keep a check on them. Executive's role? To implement the laws made by executive, to justify the actions of the government, to provide accountability to the legislature. Then judiciary's job. What is the job of judiciary? Judiciary's job is to adjudicate disputes. Issues vanda solve. Then judiciary's job is to interpret the constitution, statutes. Law yaar interpretation பண்ணலாம். If given a chance, I can interpret myself, you can interpret your way, everybody. What will happen? Governments can interpret their own way. Judiciary shall interpret. Judiciary shall say this means this. Final order, finished. Yes, you can go for an appeal, review, that's a different story altogether. Judiciary shall say this means this. So there the other authority plays a role. You bring in organizations, institutions. When it gets called as other authority, then obviously the scope widens. Sir, say I'm not getting into cases here. Don't write any cases, whatever has been written here. As of for you, I don't think so, not important from general studies point of view. But if a judiciary state illaya, in the question matter needs to be answered. See what court has done. Initially, court was a very narrower outlook court had. So we call the court of 1950s as a positivist court. Positivist court means court was merely looking into a law existed or not. Literal interpretation, not liberal interpretation. Literal interpretation means looking into what is what. The law or statement irukka adoda avladhaan. Adha or widening, creativity, imagination of the judge was absent. Avanga vandu widen pannala. Ena narrow ponanga. But later on மக்களுடைய ரைட்ஸ் அதிகப்படுத்தப்படணும். அப்பதான் கான்ஸ்டிடியூஷன் uphold பண்ண முடியும். We can maintain the spirit of the constitution. Court started enlarging its power, enlarging its interpretation. That is, it went for liberal interpretation rather than literal interpretation. That place, it brought in several institutions as part of other authority. So when it is trying to bring several institutions as part of other authority, Obviously, the laborers there, the employees there, the people who are there working and are attached to it all get redressed. Their grievances get redressed because of it. So, அது வந்து ஜுடிஷியரியால பண்ண முடிஞ்சது. இப்போ இன்னொரு கேள்வி வரும், சார் ஜுடிஷியரியே ஸ்டேட் ஆப்போ? இது வந்து ரொம்ப இம்பார்ட்டன்டான கேள்வி அண்ட் பிரசன்ட் கான்டெக்ட். ஏன் வெரி இம்பார்ட்டன்ட்? Why this becomes an important question? See, judiciary has its own way of maintaining its independence. At no point of time, I think in independent Indian history, it has outrightly given up its independence. Yes, at times it may appear that some part of it, that it could have held on to its independence, why it has left and all. But mostly when we see a longer period of time, right from 1950, how it's functioning, when it gives something, it waits for a time to take that back. That's how judiciary has functioned. And judiciary has not subjected itself to scrutiny much of a time. And if you see, when the question was asked, sir, is judiciary part of state? First of all, why this question comes? Sir, if judiciary is state, the judgment given by a judge we can question, not appeal. We can question the very judgment stating that if judgment is violative of fundamental right. ஒரு ஜட்ஜ் ஒரு தீர்ப்பு தராரு, ஒரு நீதிபதி ஒரு தீர்ப்பு தரும் பொழுது அந்த தீர்ப்பு அடிப்படை உரிமைகளை மீறும்படியாக இருந்தால், கான்ஸ்டிடியூஷன் கொடுத்த, அரசியல் சாசனம் கொடுத்த அடிப்படை உரிமைகளை மீறும் விதத்தில் இருந்தால், அந்த ஜட்ஜ்மெண்ட்டை எதிர்த்து நான் வந்து ஜுடிஷியல் ரிவ்யூ போலாமா? ஜுடிஷியல் ரிவ்யூ அது என்னங்கிறது சொல்றேன். ஜுடிஷியல் ரிவ்யூ போலாமா? அப்பீல் போறது வேற, ஜட்ஜ்மெண்ட்டை எதிர்த்து அப்பீல் போறதே வேற. பட் ஜட்ஜ்மெண்ட்டையே நான் வந்து இது ஃபண்டமெண்டல் ரைட் வயலேட்டட்னு கேட்க முடியுமா? அதான் கொஸ்டின். அதுக்கு தான் இது வருது. அதே போல ஆக்ட் ஆஃப் ஜுடிஷியரி. இப்ப ஜுடிஷியரிக்குள்ளார நீங்க பாத்தீங்கன்னா, இஃப் யூ see inside judiciary, be it Supreme Court, High Court, local district court also, the employees there, judicial officers can employ. They themselves can employ. That is the workers of the court, even court manager, they can employ. In that employment, should fundamental right be followed on? How far? If judiciary is state only, no, you can question them. If they are separate, not state means, how can you question that the appointment you did in a fair manner? How can you question? So you are now putting in, is judiciary state? But judiciary initially said that it is not state. See, இதுல இந்த கேசஸ்ல not state ன்னு தான் சொன்னாங்க. பட் இது வந்து ரொம்ப இம்பார்ட்டன்டான கேஸ், AR Antale versus RS Naik, because this case is related to lot many other things. Anti-Corruption Act and all, that period only came, and it was related to corruption also. Anti-Corruption Act 1988, Prevention of Corruption Act, not Anti-Corruption, Prevention of Corruption Act 1988, இந்தியால வந்தது அந்த சமயம் தான். இந்த கேஸ் அதுக்கு ரொம்ப இம்பார்ட்டன்ட். இந்த கேஸ்ல இம்பார்ட்டன்ட் AR Antale versus RS Naik case. Okay, so in this case, what happened? Court said, yes, judiciary is partially state. What, sir? Partially state. In all its judicial action, it's not state, but non-judicial action, it is state. What is that non-judicial action? Judicial action. Listen, when it gives a judgment, that is a judicial action, and judgment, when it is a judicial action, it is not state. Judgment is a judicial action and it is not state. Non-judicial action, like I told you, appointment of servants of court, court manager, and a lot many other people, and this providing rules for them and governing them, that is non-state. Hope you are getting it. So state, that activity, judiciary is also state. In judicial, pure judicial activity like giving judgment or master of roster. Master of roster means, if you see 2017, if you have been following the news, 2017 there was an issue. Chief Justice was Mr. Deepak Mishra, During his tenure, there was an issue that he allocated a case. As a Chief Justice, he only will say that which judge should hear what case. He allocated a case not on the basis of seniority or something, where he himself was involved actually. In one of the cases, he himself was a person looking into, and that was Ranjan Gogoi again. He allocated a case to Arun Mishra. There was another person, Justice Arun Mishra. It was said that he is very fond of him and they have a good relationship. So a particular case he has allocated there. So now the question came, do the Chief Justice has his own right to allocate the way he wants? Or should it go according to the criteria seniority? That time it was said that finally the court itself decided, yes, master of roster, he has the right. It is a judicial activity. He has the right. You cannot question that and all. So whomever, within the judges, whomever Supreme Court says he wants to give the case, he can give the case. We cannot question it. Why I am saying this? These kind of questions, when it comes to judiciary, judiciary is partially a state, not fully a state. State. In judicial activity, not a state. Non-judicial activity of judiciary, it is a state. Hope it is understood. Sir, now, so this again is important one. This is from different cases actually. And sir, you said other authority. And what criteria Supreme Court is saying, this is a state, this is not a state? What are all the criteria? Under what criteria an organization is called a state, not state? See, I told you about a question that was asked. In Karnataka, departmental exam, not group 1 or anything, departmental exam. A forest ranger related department exam, I suppose. That question was relating to a port, and is it state under Article 12? Because that time, I'm saying 2 years back, on current affairs in newspapers, some related issue has come. See, court preferentially, for example, if you see SCRT, the state curriculum, education curriculum prepare பண்ற NCRT சென்ட்ரல்ல இருக்கிற மாதிரி SCRT ஸ்டேட்ல இருக்கு. இப்போ SCRT ஸ்டேட்னு சொல்லி கோர்ட் சொல்லியிருக்கு. ஆனா NCRT ஸ்டேட் இல்லைன்னு சொல்லியிருக்கு. சார் எந்த கிரைட்டீரியால சார் சொன்னாங்க? இதுதான் சப்ஜெக்டிவ். இப்போ இதெல்லாம் மேஜர் கிரைட்டீரியா. இது எல்லாமே கம்பல்சரின்னு கிடையாது. இதெல்லாம் மேஜர் கிரைட்டீரியா. So these are some of the criteria. I don't know whether book has got this item or not. If not, if you are viewing this class in this, what to say, your cell phone, you can take a screenshot of it. If it is there in book, leave it. So in the these criteria, if it is there, then it can be called a state. Supreme Court says that if these criteria are there, then this can be called a state. What are all those criteria? State shall be a primary fund provider. And the organization is state the primary fund provider. It may get funds from other source, but primary state. Complete deep and pervasive control of state. State should have a deeper control. Plenary, that is plenary control residing in government. That is complete control as such, residing in government. State should have done that activity on its own. Later on, it should have created an independent body or whatever a body, then given the job to them. Then some element of authority or command that organization shall also have, which resembles that of a state activity. Functional character should be that of state. That's what. This resembles that of a state activity. இதெல்லாம் இருந்தால் Supreme Court ஒரு institution stateன்னு சொல்லும் அப்படின்னு Supreme Court has said. But as I told you, NCRT has been called non-state, SCRT has been called a state. Some cooperative societies or some states have been called a state. In other states, cooperative society has not been called state. Depending upon context, the court determines here what is state, what is not state. Depending upon context, okay, and the rights involved. State determines whether it is state, or court determines whether an organization is state or not. But as of now, you can understand this. This is about Article 12. Why Article 12? What does Article 12 say? And what amounts to state? All the stuff we have seen. This is about Article 12. This itself is far more than enough. Now, coming to, this is a separate article. Coming to Article 13. So what is this Article 13? One of the very important articles. Here I am making one thing very clear to you. Article 13, judicial review, they say default. It is not only Article 13 where judicial review is there. Article 13, Article 32, Article 226, Article 131 to 136, Article 145, numerous articles. Wherever the court gets a chance to look into any government policy or a law, we call it judicial review. How I am going to say to you? First of all, sir, what is judicial review? See, judicial review, according for the purpose of 13, I am saying, I will say two definitions of judicial review. Normal meaning. The power of the courts, Supreme Court and High Court in case of India, the power of the courts to validate or invalidate a law made by the legislature. The power of the courts to validate or invalidate a law made by the legislature on the basis of its consistency or inconsistency with the provisions of the Constitution. In the basic meaning. அதாவது ஒரு சட்டம் பாராளுமன்றத்தாலோ சட்டமன்றத்தால் எந்தவித ஸ்டேட்டா இருக்கட்டும் பார்லிமெண்டா இருக்கட்டும் ஸ்டேட் அசம்பிளியா இருக்கட்டும் பார்லிமெண்டா இருக்கட்டும் இந்த ரெண்டு இடத்துலயும் ஒரு சட்டம் இயற்றப்படுது. அந்த சட்டத்தை வேலிடேட் பண்றது, அக்செப்டன்ஸ் கொடுக்கறதும் நான் அக்செப்டன்ஸ் கொடுக்கறதும் யாருக்கு அந்த ரைட் யாருக்கு இருக்கு? கோர்ட் இருக்கு. அது எப்படி அக்செப்டன்ஸ் கொடுப்பாங்க? எதன் அடிப்படையில் அதை சொல்றோம் அப்படின்னா, கோர்ட் வந்து அதை எந்த பேசிஸ்ல வேலிடேட் பண்ணுவாங்கன்னா, கான்ஸ்டிடியூஷனுக்கு இது ஒத்து இருக்கா இல்லையா. அதாவது நல்லா புரிஞ்சுக்கணும், இந்த ஆர்டிகல் 13 emanates from the very idea that constitution is sovereign in India. Constitution is sovereign in India. இந்தியால பார்லிமெண்ட் சோவரென் கிடையாது, கான்ஸ்டிடியூஷன் சோவரென். இதே யூகேல பாருங்க, எது சோவரென்? அன்ரிட்டன் கான்ஸ்டிடியூஷன். அதனால யூகேல எது சோவரென்? பார்லிமெண்ட் சோவரென். பார்லிமெண்ட் இயற்றக்கூடிய சட்டங்கள் ஃபைனல், அதுதான் கான்ஸ்டிடியூஷன். பார்லிமெண்ட் அந்த சட்டத்தை நீக்கிருச்சுன்னா முடிஞ்சிருச்சு, திரும்பி கொண்டு வந்தா உண்டு. whichever law brought by this parliament is final, removed by it, over. But in India we have a written constitution, separate constitution. The laws made by the legislature, be it state or center, should correspond to this. This is the base, this is the supreme, this is the utmost. If it corresponds to this, accepted. If it doesn't correspond to this, throw it into the dustbin. It's of no use. Who will throw? Who has the right to throw? Judiciary has the right to throw. And the right யார் கொடுக்கிறா? கான்ஸ்டிடியூஷன் கொடுக்குது. அதனால கான்ஸ்டிடியூஷன் தான் சோவரின். ஜுடிஷியரிக்கு இந்த ரைட் கொடுத்தது யாரு? கான்ஸ்டிடியூஷன் கொடுக்குது. லெஜிஸ்லேச்சர் இயற்றிய சட்டத்தை அக்செப்ட் பண்ணுவதும் அக்செப்ட் பண்ணாது. எப்படி அக்செப்ட் பண்ணலாம்? ஜுடிஷியரியோட விருப்பத்திலையா? இல்ல, அது கான்ஸ்டிடியூஷனுக்கு ஒத்து போகுதா இல்லையான்னு பார்க்கணும். ஒத்து போனா வச்சுக்கோ, ஒத்து போலனா தூக்கி எறி. ஏன்? கான்ஸ்டிடியூஷன் தான் இங்க சோவரின், கவர்மெண்ட் அல்ல. கவர்மெண்ட்ஸ் மே கம் அண்ட் கோ, கான்ஸ்டிடியூஷன் ரிமைன்ஸ் டு கைட் those governments. Government gets formed because of constitution in India. So we call constitution is sovereign, not parliament is sovereign in India. And we need an independent judiciary for that matter. Why? That independent judiciary will make sure that whatever laws, policies made by the government, is it in correspondence with the constitution or not. Aadhar brought by the government, what did court say? You can't compel Aadhar. Government compelled Aadhar. Sir, அதுக்கப்புறமும் கம்பல் பண்றாங்களே சார், அது வேற பாலிடிக்ஸ். அதை விட்டுருங்க. ஆதார் கேஸ் உடைய ஜட்ஜ்மெண்ட் என்ன? ஆதார் கம்பல் பண்ண முடியாது. ரைட் டு பிரைவசி இஸ் a fundamental right under 21 சொல்லியாச்சு. getting it or not? So numerous we will see. நல்லா புரிஞ்சுக்கணும், இதுதான் ஜெனரல் மீனிங். கான்ஸ்டிடியூஷனோட எந்த ப்ரொவிஷனுக்குங்கிறது தான் ஜெனரல் மீனிங். இன்னும் சொல்ல போனா ஜுடிஷியல் ரிவ்யூ as a concept we have borrowed, we have adapted from America. Independence of judiciary we have adapted from America. சார், அப்ப 13க்கு ஏதோ ஸ்பெசிபிக் மீனிங் இருக்கு. எஸ் இருக்கு. அது என்ன? The power of the Supreme Court and High Court to validate or invalidate a law based on its consistency or inconsistency with any provisions of the fundamental rights. Legislature இயற்றிய சட்டத்தை validate பண்ணுவதற்கும் invalidate பண்ணுவதற்கும் ஜுடிஷியரிக்கு உரிமை உண்டு, provided அது ஃபண்டமெண்டல் ரைட்டோட எவ்வளவு ஒத்து போகுதுங்கிறத வைத்து. ஃபண்டமெண்டல் ரைட்டோட அது கன்சிஸ்டன்டா இருக்குன்னா அக்செப்டட். If not consistent, not accepted. If not consistent, it is not accepted. Hope you are getting it. Not consistent, it is not accepted. If it is consistent, it is accepted. That is how this is done. That is according to Article 13. That is according to Article 13. Hope you are getting it. Fine. So here, that's according to Article 13. Hope you are getting it. So now we will go into the details of Article 13. So இதுதான் வந்து Article 13ல இருக்கிற judicial review உடைய meaning. General meaning வேற. General meaning generally laws made by parliament, policies, அது எல்லாமே வந்து கான்ஸ்டிடியூஷனுக்கு ஒத்து இருக்கணும். இல்லைன்னா அதை கொஸ்டின் பண்ணலாம். அது ஜெனரல் மீனிங். பட் ஃபார் த பர்பஸ் ஆஃப் ஆர்டிகல் 13, ஒன் ஆஃப் த மோஸ்ட் இம்பார்ட்டன்ட் ஆர்டிகல்ஸ், ஃபண்டமெண்டல் ரைட்டோட ஒரு சட்டம், a law or a policy made by the this judiciary is consistent or inconsistent with fundamental right provisions of part 3 of the constitution. That is Article 13. So if you Article 13 எடுத்துக்கிட்டீங்கன்னா, you have to have a Barak book, then you will understand it better. In Article 13, laws inconsistent or in derogation with fundamental right. Okay, I have put it in a short manner. So clause 1, clause 2, clause 3, clause 4 எல்லாமே இம்பார்ட்டன்ட் தான். இப்போ இந்த clause 1 பாத்தீங்கன்னா towards the end right bracketல you have to write pre-constitutional law. இத வந்து அந்த bracket endல நீங்க எழுதணும். ஏன்? Those laws which were in existence in the country that came before the coming of constitution shall not violate the provisions of this part. To the extent of its violation, it shall be held void. So what does that mean? See, constitution என்னைக்கு வந்தது? When did constitution came? November 26, 1949. Sorry, 49. Constitution இந்த அன்னைக்கு தான் enact பண்ணோம், அடாப்ட் பண்ணோம். ஓகே. இப்போ நீங்க இதை வச்சுக்கோங்க, கான்ஸ்டிடியூஷன் வந்த தேதி இதுதான். இப்போ இதுக்கு முன்னாடியே சட்டங்கள் இருந்தது, இன்னைக்கு வேலிடா இருக்கு. சட்டம் இருந்துச்சு, அதை நீக்கிட்டாங்கன்னா அது வேற. Law was there, taken away, no problem. But if it is still valid, for example, IPC, Indian Penal Code, இந்திய தண்டனை சட்டம் 1860, இன்னைக்கு வரையிலும் இதே சட்டம் தான் இருக்கு. Even today we have the same law. Likewise, numerous laws we have. Civil Procedure Code 1908, Indian Evidence Act 1872. So இந்த சட்டங்கள் எல்லாம் இப்ப 1860 இருக்கு. கான்ஸ்டிடியூஷன் எப்போ வந்தது? இப்ப வந்தது. இப்ப என்ன இது வந்து 13 clause 1 என்ன சொல்லுதுன்னா, இந்த எந்த ஒரு சட்டமும் கான்ஸ்டிடியூஷன் வருவதற்கு முன்னாடியே இயற்றப்பட்ட சட்டம் இன்றளவும் இருக்கும் எனில், அந்த சட்டமும் பார்ட் 3 அடிப்படை உரிமைகள் இருக்கக்கூடிய இந்த ஒரு பார்ட் உள்ள ப்ரொவிஷனை அது மீறக்கூடாது. Hope you are understanding. அதனாலதான் towards the end I asked you to put in bracket pre-constitutional law. Now, 2, same item, post-constitution. Constitution வந்ததுக்கு அப்புறம் இயற்றப்படக்கூடிய சட்டங்கள், post-constitutional law. For example, Dowry Prohibition Act. Dowry Prohibition Act 1961. இப்ப 1949க்கு அப்புறம் தானே அது வந்தது. இந்த 1961ல இருக்கிற டவுரி ப்ராஹிபிஷன் ஆக்ட் உடைய ப்ரொவிஷன் அதை வயலேட் பண்ணக்கூடாது. எதை வயலேட் பண்ணக்கூடாது? கான்ஸ்டிடியூஷன்ல உள்ள ஃபண்டமெண்டல் ரைட்ஸை வயலேட் பண்ணக்கூடாது. அதுதான் போஸ்ட் கான்ஸ்டிடியூஷனல் லா. வயலேட் பண்ணா என்ன சார்? ஒரே ஒரு ஆர்டிகல், ஒரு செக்ஷன் மட்டும் ஐபிசில வயலேட் பண்ணுது. இப்ப என்ன சார் பண்றது? ஒரு செக்ஷன் வயலேட் பண்ணுது, இப்ப என்ன பண்ணலாம்? அங்கதான் கோர்ட் அதை ஆய்வு செய்யும். ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள், வாட் இஸ் 377 செக்ஷன் 377 ஐபிசி? செக்ஷன் 377 ஐபிசி என்ன? அன்நேச்சுரல் அஃபென்சஸ். அதுதான் அதோட டாபிக். அது லேட்டர் ஆன் LGBTQA பிளஸ், அது ஒரு கே ரிலேஷன்ஷிப், டிரான்செக்சுவல் அந்த ரிலேஷன்ஷிப் உடைய ரைட்ஸாக அது மாற்றனா அதுதான் அது ஒரு அட்டாச். 2018 கோர்ட்டோட வேர்டிக்ட் என்ன? 377 டீக்ரிமினலைஸ் பண்ணுங்க. எப்படி? செக்ஷன் 3. ஏன்? இட் இஸ் வயலேட்டிவ் ஆஃப் ஆர்டிகல் 14, ஆர்டிகல் 15, 19 அண்ட் ஆல். அதெல்லாம் வயலேட் பண்ணுது, அதனால டீக்ரிமினலைஸ் பண்ணுங்க. டீக்ரிமினலைஸ் என்ன? அதாவது அன்நேச்சுரல் செக்ஸ், சோடாமி, ஒரு டூ கன்சென்டிங் இண்டிவிஜுவல்குள்ளார இருக்கக்கூடிய ஒரு ரிலேஷன்ஷிப், let them be of same sex, cannot be considered as sinful. So not you leave the word sin, offensive against the state, because article 14 அது வந்து matter of preference to them. article 15 செக்ஸ்ங்கிறது ஆண் பெண் மட்டும் தான், நீ எப்படி பிரிக்க முடியும்? அதுதான் வாதிடப்பட்டது. 2018 என்ன ஜட்ஜ்மெண்ட் வந்தது? அதை லீகலைஸ் எல்லாம் பண்ணல, டீக்ரிமினலைஸ் பண்ணாங்க. அதாவது கன்சென்டிங் இண்டிவிஜுவல்ஸ்குள்ளார அவங்களுக்கு ஒரு ப்ராப்ளம் இல்லைன்னு அவங்க இருந்தா அதையவே ஒரு குற்றமாக்க முடியாது. கே ரிலேஷன்ஷிப்ல ஒருத்தர் இருக்காங்கிறது மட்டுமே குற்றமாகாது, ப்ரொவைடட் தேர் இஸ் நோ கம்பல்ஷன் இன் இட், அல்லது மைனஸ் இன்வால்வ் இன் இட். அவங்க இல்லைன்னா அது ஒரு ப்ராப்ளம் இல்லை. இப்ப எப்படி சொன்னாங்க? அதுதான் ப்ரீ கான்ஸ்டிடியூஷனல் தானே ஐபிசி. இப்ப 377 செக்ஷன் ஐபிசில தானே இருக்கு. அப்ப அதை எதோட உரசி பாக்குறாங்க? ஆர்டிகல் 14 உரசினாங்க, ஆர்டிகல் 15 உரசினாங்க, ஆர்டிகல் 19 உரசினாங்க. சார் இவ்வளவு நாள் கழிச்சு இப்ப மட்டும் ஏன் சார் 2018 சொன்னாங்க, இதுக்கு முன்னாடி ஏன் சார் சொல்லல? காலம், அதாவது law, these are man made law. When demand comes, when there is a change, demand comes, things will change. மக்களுடைய புரிதல், அடாப்டேஷன், அதன் அடிப்படையில தான் சட்டங்கள் மாறும். இது வந்து இறை சட்டங்கள் கிடையாது. இப்ப டிவைன் லாஸ் எப்படின்னு சொல்றோம், be it Vedas or be it Quran or be it Bible, they are said by God, they are felt, and the people believe in faith that they are word of God. இதுதான் சொல்லப்படும். அப்போ அவங்க வேர்ட் ஆஃப் காட்னா அதை பிலீவ் பண்றாங்க. அப்ப அது எட்டர்னல்னு பிலீவ் பண்றாங்க. அது மேட்டர் ஆஃப் ஃபெய்த். இதே மேன்மேட் லாஸ் மேட்டர் ஆஃப் ஃபெய்த் எல்லாம் கிடையாது, தேவைகளுக்கு தான் சட்டம். அதுதான் மேன்மேட் லாவே. அப்போ அந்த தேவைகளுங்கும் போது, listen to me, a very interesting thing I will say to you. In 1950s, UK also had these kind of laws. In fact, 1860 from British only we got that law. UK also had this kind of law. Gay relationship and even unnatural sex. Unnatural sex அப்படிங்கிறது வந்துட்டு a sex not meant for reproductive purpose, or that way if it is not there, that can be considered offense. That unnatural sex, it involves sodomy, it involves other forms. Any other form, not that form that will lead to reproduction, any other form is considered unnatural. இது ஆக்சுவலி டீப்பர் கிறிஸ்டியன் ஈத்தோஸ்ல இருந்து வந்தது, மிடிவியல் ஈத்தோஸ் அதுல இருந்து வந்தது. 1950s in the debate UK there was a debate actually, and there is a famous statement during that time. Winston Churchill has said that at no point of time in recent times at no point a person would be punished for the offense of this unnatural sex or being gay. The reason is Churchill's statement, not my statement. I'm saying 1940s or 50s in UK, he said. Reason is half of the judges still wonder how it is done, and another half are practicing it. Getting it or not? Okay, this was said by Churchill. 1950s ஒரு இஷ்யூவா இருந்தது. அது 60s 70sலயே அங்க மாற்றங்கள் அடைஞ்சு அது லீகலைஸே ஆகி இன்னைக்கு கே மேரேஜஸ் செய்யலாம். அந்த மாதிரி பல யூரோப்பியன் கண்ட்ரிஸ் வந்தாச்சு. அன்னைக்கு வந்து ஹோமோசெக்சுவல்ங்கிறது ஒரு டிசீஸ்னு சொல்லிட்டு டிக்ஷனரியில இருந்தது. பை 1980s 90s ஹோமோபோபியா வந்து ஒரு டிசீஸா மாறிடுச்சு. இப்ப யாராவது ஒருத்தரை பார்த்துட்டு இவங்க எல்லாம் கே ரிலேஷன்ஷிப்னு ஒருத்தர் சொல்றாங்கன்னா அவங்களுக்கு தான் டிசீஸ் இருக்குன்னு அர்த்தம். ஓகே, So அது ஒரு preference, matter of preference. Unless otherwise nobody is compelled. What is your problem? அதான். காலங்கள் மாறும் பொழுது மனிதர்களுடைய அடாப்டேஷன்ஸ் மாறும் பொழுது அந்த சட்டங்களும் அதற்கு ஏற்ற மாதிரி மாறுது. அதேதான் இந்தியாவில் it is coming off late. But in the debate has been there from 90s itself. Court felt the time is not right. People may not agree. But by 2018, it was felt by the court. Now there is a good amount of people who are ready to agree this. And what is the problem of accepting to it? As simple as that. So it has been brought. What the whole reason of saying that whole one incident is what? This is where you have to understand. Pre-constitutional law, a provision of the law that is there in existence before the coming of constitution should not violate the provision, fundamental rights of the constitution. If it violates, that law can be decriminalized. One option. Law will be there. இப்பயுமே ஒரு non-consenting individual ஒருத்தர் வந்துட்டு அந்த மாதிரியான ஒரு செயல்பாட்டிற்கு இழுத்தால் அது அஃபென்ஸ் தான். மைனரோட இருந்தால் அது அஃபென்ஸ் தான். இதெல்லாம் அஃபென்ஸ் தான். So other than that, consenting individual is not decriminalized. அதுவே per se will not be an offense. Another example, அந்த whole provision-ஐயே நீக்கிடுவாங்க, ரிப்பீல் பண்ணிடுவாங்க. இன்னும் டீக்ரிமினலைஸ் பண்ணலாம், எல்லாம் அதே நீக்கிடலாம், எடுத்துடலாம். 303 APC has been repealed that way. Let me not go deeper. That becomes law actually. Now only listen this much. So this is the example. So this is pre-constitutional law. Post-constitutional law. Same concept. Post-constitutional law. ஒன்று அது முரண்படுமே ஆனால் நீக்கிடலாம், இல்ல அது அப்படியே வச்சு டார்மெண்ட் பண்ணலாம். அதுவும் நம்ம பார்க்க போறோம். கோர்ட் இந்த மாதிரி எதையும் செய்யலாம். So now these two we have seen. At the end of it, right, pre-constitutional law, 13 clause 1, 13 clause 2, end of it, right, post-constitutional law. Now the very wonderful articles. Listen to me very, very carefully here, please. One of the wonderful articles of Indian Constitution framed by our constitutional makers is this article 13 clause 3. Such a sweet one. I'm saying sweet in the sense like we can enjoy that nectar of knowledge which it gives to us. See that wide thought what they have had. Like what is state they define, now they are defining what is law here. So Article 13, a law, pre-constitutional law, post-constitutional law, they are saying. They are further going more. What is law? Is law only that what is made by legislature is law? You have to see 13 clause 3. Then you will understand. What is law for the purpose of this article? That is 13. Which is that you are saying as law that should not violate fundamental right? Which is that you are saying as law that should not violate fundamental right? Listen to me here. Wonderful. Law for this purpose, this article includes any law made by legislature, statute, regulation, rule, notification. Finally, you see, custom or usage which have a force of law within the territory of India. Custom or usage which have a force of law within the territory of India. Very simple. Custom or usage which have a force of law within the territory of India. Custom or usage which have a force of law within the territory of India. Okay, got it, got it. Little glitch actually. Okay. Question that was put. Okay, fine. Sir, good afternoon. Good noon, sir. Okay, is it possible all articles are abolished by Parliament, which is inconsistent with the fundamental right, and it's make new constitution framed by Parliament under Article 13? D. Renuka. Please don't put the. Okay, asking this way, I'm very happy you have put this question. Nice one. These kind of questions don't put a right in a public article. Why? Recently, we are seeing government is more inclined, particularly in the center, they are more inclined to frame laws which benefit them alone. If they happen to see like this, and anything could be done. Okay, all articles abolished by Parliament, which is inconsistent. It is not abolished by Parliament because, again, one small mistake you have done. Abolished by court. Court is the one which is going to abolish. Parliament cannot abolish, which violates fundamental rights. Because Parliament is in first place, it is Parliament which is making the law which violates fundamental rights. அதாவது பார்லிமெண்ட் தான் சட்டத்தையே ஏற்றுறது. அந்த சட்டம் வந்து ஃபண்டமெண்டல் ரைட் வயலேட் ஆகக்கூடாதுன்னு தான் சுப்ரீம் கோர்ட் நடுவில் வருது. புரியுதா? சுப்ரீம் கோர்ட் தான் அபாலிஷ் பண்ண முடியும் உங்களுக்கு. சரியா? பட் சுப்ரீம் கோர்ட் அப்படின்னா இப்ப வேணா நீங்க இதை இப்படி போட்டுக்கோங்க. ஆல் ஆர்டிகல்ஸ் ஆர் அபாலிஷ்ட் பை சுப்ரீம் கோர்ட் விச் இஸ் இன்கன்சிஸ்டன்ட் வித் ஃபண்டமெண்டல் ரைட் அண்ட் இட் மேக்ஸ் நியூ கான்ஸ்டிடியூஷன். தட் இஸ் கோர்ட்டே ஒரு கான்ஸ்டிடியூஷன் அப்படியே போட்டு பண்ண முடியும். கோர்ட் லா மேக்கிங்கிறது ஒரு ரேரா பண்ண முடியும். கோர்ட்டும் லா மேக் பண்ணுது, ரூல்ஸ் பண்ணலாம், கைட்லைன்ஸ் பண்ணலாம். அது விஷாகா கேஸ் இந்த மாதிரி கேசஸ்ல நடந்தது. தட் ஐ வில் டாக் டு யூ லேட்டர் ஆன். பட் கோர்ட்டுடைய ஜாப் லா மேக்கிங் கிடையாது, அது பார்லிமெண்ட் தான் பண்ணணும். பட் பார்லிமெண்ட் அமெண்ட்மெண்ட்ங்கிற பேர்ல கான்ஸ்டிடியூஷனை மாத்தலாமாங்கிறது தான் கொஸ்டின். அது அதுதான் இங்க பிரச்சனை. இண்டிபெண்டன்ட் ஜுடிஷியரி இருக்கிற வரையிலையும் பார்லிமெண்ட்னால அது முடியாது. தனக்கு இஷ்டத்துக்கு எதை வேணாலும் செய்ய முடியாது. இண்டிபெண்டன்ட் ஜுடிஷியரி இருக்கிற வரையிலையும். இண்டிபெண்டன்ஸ் ஆஃப் ஜுடிஷியரி என்னைக்கு கொஸ்டின் ஆகுதோ, வேர் தட் இண்டிபெண்டன்ஸ் ஆஃப் ஜுடிஷியரி becomes a vague area, there it can be done. Okay, little change நீங்க அந்த கொஸ்டின்ல பண்ணிக்கணும். பட் அகைன் பப்ளிக் ஸ்பேஸ்ல நம்ம எப்படி போட்டோம்னா உண்மையிலே really speaking that kind of a thought process is there. Like you can judiciary when it starts, if at all if state government starts controlling judiciary, you take my word, that is what is going to happen. Because whatever law it makes, it will curb the independence of judiciary. The judiciary will not say anything. The moment judiciary doesn't say anything, it do whatever it wants to do. As simple as that. Listen to me. So, defining law. What is law? Wonderful article for the purpose of this. Any rule, regulation, law, statute, and custom or usage having a force of law within the territory of India. The word paranga, custom or usage. Custom nale enna? Habitual practice in a society. It's a practice continued in tradition. Even such a practice which have a force of law within the territory of India cannot violate fundamental right. நல்லா புரிஞ்சுக்கணும். சட்டம் லெஜிஸ்லேச்சர் இயற்றிய சட்டம் மட்டும் கிடையாது. இப்போ பல எக்ஸாம்பிள்ஸ் இருக்கு. வில்லேஜஸ் எல்லாம் பார்க்கலாம். ரொம்ப அப்சர்டான சில லாஸ் இருக்கும். மழை பெய்யலைன்னா வந்துட்டு we would have seen in movies also. மழை பெய்யலைன்னா வந்துட்டு இந்த ஊரை சுத்தி நியூடா வந்துட்டு விமன் போகணும். அப்படி இது வந்து ஒரு ஃபோர்ஸ் ஆஃப் லா, கட்டுப்பாடு. அப்படி அவங்க மறுத்தா சமூக பகிஷ்காரம் பண்ணப்படுவாங்க. they will be ostracized from the society. So in those conditions what to do? That also can be questioned in the court. That also can be questioned in the court as said as violation of fundamental right. Yes. Solely I said Article 13+3, such a foresight. They did not mention only the laws made by Parliament. They have also included custom or usage. Please see that. Custom or usage having force of law within the territory of India should also not violate fundamental right, provision of fundamental. If it violates, yes, it will question. Yes, it will question. Triple talaq issue. Last before you, court said only that issue. Court said it is even against private Muslim personal law, as well as it went further and said it's against constitution also. How? Or lot many things. Women entering into temple, Shabarimala temple. Same custom or usage, they can question. How can Supreme Court question? We can ask. Sir, religious right, how can avanga custom, how you enna prachana? Custom or usage having force of law within the territory of India. The question. But that's one rule. That's a regulation. Devasthanam board regulation is question. But whatsoever it may, they can do. Hope you are getting it. This is about Article 13, Clause 3. Now, 13, Clause 4, we have to see after looking into certain doctrines actually. These are all important, even from prelims point of view important. Even this case is important. This case is important. From prelims point of view also, even this one. So, tomorrow, doctrine and coupled with it, because this article, little explanation required, we will take this one. As of now, any other questions, you are pleased to throw the questions. It would be better, we can discuss questions now. Because it's time actually, 10-15 minutes of questions would do better. Any other question? Let me also see with regard to this. Any questions here? On YouTube live, any questions also, you are free to forward it actually. The regulator can forward it to me. That way also we can do it. I will try connecting myself to YouTube. If it gets connected, it's wise. If not, again, we can forward those questions. We can discuss the questions also. So, Barak book author publication, tell me, sir. Okay, the regulator I'm saying, sir, please you put it for everyone in the Zoom. Let others also see. You are putting a private message, so put it for everyone. See, Barak book, any Barak book you get, BRE actually, any Barak book you get. PM Bakshi is better. Usually people go for it. It's good also. Some footnotes are given, some little explanation given. A smaller one, that not a bigger PM Bakshi one. PM Bakshi, smaller, universal publication only. PM Bakshi would be there. You can go for it. Or this what I have showed to you people, commercial publication, professional publication, many are there. Anyone. Barak book is nothing but which consists the provisions of the constitution, as simple as that. Okay. And next, sir, regarding the absolute rights, why don't we consider Article 15 absolute right? My dear, I told to you, Article 15 you see, Article 15 clause 1, anyway tomorrow we will see, but 15 clause 1 says what? That the state shall not discriminate on the basis of religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth, 5 criteria. Then again, 15 clause 2, even private individuals also it applies. When it is for a public purpose, they cannot discriminate. Very clear, it is absolute only, no problem here. Where comes the problem? 15 clause 3 itself, there is the problem. Nothing in the above article shall apply to state taking any special measures for upliftment or protection of women and children. Sex, they are saying, religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth. But here, women, on the basis of sex, yes, you can. You can discriminate. That cannot be called discrimination. 15 clause 4, socially and educationally backward class of citizens. If any measure is done to uplift them, you cannot call it discrimination. 15 clause 5, private educational institutions, except minority educational institutions, you can give reservation. Exception only, not absolute. No. So, indirectly discrimination can be done. 15 clause 6, EWS, economically weaker section 10%, up to 10% can be given. So, 15 is not absolute right. Hope you are getting it. Okay. Good question. Fine. No person shall be. Okay, fine. 21A actually, if you see, okay, again, internet connection going unstable. Let me see. So why not 21A? Wonderful question. Siranjeevi. Nice question. I'll put. See here, 21A, 6 to 14 years. Now you can call it an absolute right. No citizen shall be. Now you can call it an absolute right. Yes, good question. 86th Amendment Act to 22. Now you can call it an absolute right, which from 86th Amendment Act. To an extent, it is absolute only as of now. Now you can call it. Yes, very good. You can include 17, 21A as well as 24. You can include. Okay, you can have. And it is an absolute right only. But let us not go into it. It's an absolute right. Take it that way. It's an absolute right. Good question. It's an absolute right. Article 13, Kaliswaran. So article, nothing in this article shall apply to any amendment. Please explain. Nothing in this article shall apply to any. Yeah. Which one you are saying? I really can't understand you. Wait. Article 13. Nothing. That is 4. No. Okay, fine. Tomorrow, Kaliswaran, I said I will be teaching to you. Anyway, I have to take that 4. 4 I haven't taken to you. So when I handle 4, it would be easier for you. That time I will say to you. Now you don't worry about it because I have to bring in 368 here. Then only I can explain to you. Nothing in this article shall apply to any of the amendment brought under 368. Similarly, in 368 also, 24th Amendment Act 1971, they went to 368 and then amended. That 13 won't come here. Both are there actually. So that you have to understand. Okay. When I handle 4, it will be easier for you. That time. Okay, got it. So that is not a thing. Okay. Then, any other question? See, meanwhile, preamble actually, somebody was putting me that, sir, about that you haven't mentioned actually. Okay, about that also a little bit I will be mentioning, not a problem. Preamble, you can read from books, not an issue. So preamble was the last to be included. And then this to be included, objective resolution, fine-tuned, and last to be included in the Constitution, which became the first part of it. And when we speak about preamble, so one thing I am making it very clear. Preamble also verbatim, please get to know. Verbatim means what? As it is, please know. Fundamental duty also as it is, you please know. I am not asking about any other article that as it is you should know. Why? Preamble they haven't asked. State the preamble and all they didn't ask. About questions in preamble they have asked. But fundamental duty they have asked. That state any 5 fundamental duty. Even 2010 or 7 I suppose. A question on state the fundamental duties they have asked. Simply like that. If such a question at all, open-ended question, free straight question. 51A, class A, B, C, D, likewise if you mention that verbatim, obviously they are bound to give you that higher slab only as marks. They cannot cut on. So that verbatim you please see. Preamble also please see the verbatim, it will be helpful. Verbatim means, again, as it is, how it is. Like we the people of India having solemnly affirmed to constitute India into a socialist, secular, democratic republic. And we give justice, we provide. By that we are trying to attain. So first of all, what is preamble? Preamble is the introduction to the Constitution. What is it? It consists the very gist of the Constitution. What is that? Secondly, it consists the ideals and aspirations. So ideals means what? Aspirations means what? Ideals means means. Aspirations means goal. Ideals means means. Aspirations mean goal. The goal of the Constitution. It consists of that both. So ideals and aspirations, it consists. So what are all the means? to constitute India into socialist, secular, democratic, socialist, secular, sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. We want to constitute, that is the means, India to be sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. And through that, what we want to achieve? Through that, we want to achieve the goal of, listen carefully, through that, we want to achieve the goal of justice, social, economic, political, liberty of thought, expression, faith, belief, worship. Then equality of opportunity and status. Very wonderful item, that one. Please, I will explain to you. Equality of status and opportunity. And to promote integrity by maintaining, without disturbing the integrity and unity of the country. See, this is the goal. So the goal is to achieve justice. Goal is to achieve liberty. Goal is to achieve equality and fraternity. Here, through what? Making India into sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. Sovereign means what? Unquestioned power. Internally or externally, a legally elected government is not questionable. And again, here for a government also, the power comes from the constitution. Constitution is sovereign. Numerous provisions there which explain that it is constitution. Even Article 13 indirectly says constitution is sovereign. Then what do you mean by socialist? Briefly, I am saying such a big topic. Questions are asked. Even in the first paper, I am saying that history paper, socio-political philosophy of topic would be there. In mains, if you see, such questions are asked. And about socialism, if you see forms of socialism, if you see your main topic, paper 1, socio-political philosophies, socialism, capitalism, socialism, and forms of it. Other forms of it. And the forms of it, the socialism, socialism follow. So what kind of socialism we follow? Secularism. Yes, socialism is a word. Why socialism and secularism was not there when Constitution came, and why it was included by the 42nd Amendment Act 1976. So, if you see a footnote, Barrett book, socialism is a word, secularism word. Illa, Constitution on the pa. Illa, 76 42nd Amendment Mulima Kondo. Edikaha. So, this is a prominent question. So, if socialism, number follow socialism, number socialism, Cuba socialism. USSR, China socialism. When we brought itself, our idea was not that. See, DPSP expresses numerous socialist principles, exclusively speaking 39B and C. Article 39, Class B and 39, Class C, if you see. The resources of the nation shall be distributed in such a way that it subserves common good. So, also, the economic order is not in such a way that a monopolistic control over the economic resources be there. This is 39B and C. Core socialistic principle. Even 39D, equal pay for equal work, socialist principle. Okay, right to 41, socialist principle, right to work. So, and minimum wage, again, with regard to 43, maternity relief, again, socialist principle, 42. So numerous DPSP. These are all socialist principles. Sir, what is that? What kind of socialism do we practice? Our socialism is the Nehruvian model of socialism, or you call Fabian socialism. This is Fabian socialism. See, Fabian socialism is an outcome of this European one. Europe, Marx. For that, we should know a little bit about Marxian socialism. Marxian socialism, that is the socialism proclaimed by Marx, was different from that of Fabian socialism. Marx, a person who was born in Prussia, that is today's Germany. Major part of Prussia is Germany today. But he was, because of his writings and his revolutionary zeal, and he instigated revolutions elsewhere. He brought labor's rights to the fore. Because of that, he was sent out. Briefly, I am saying. He was almost ostracized from every country. He was not allowed to step foot on every country. Germany rejected him. France rejected him. Belgium rejected him. Finally, the whole life he was fighting against capitalism only. His writings were against capitalism only, and capitalism's mother of capitalism is UK, and it was UK which gave asylum to Marx. But even in UK, Marx was writing against capitalism only, but he was under close quarter. That is, I will say, that is ஒரு saying உண்டு, நல்ல saying. அதுக்கேற்ற மாதிரி தான் அந்த பிரிட்டிஷ் கிங்டம் அன்னைக்கு நடந்துக்கிட்டாங்க. Keep your friends close, enemies closer. Okay, so capitalism was able to keep Marx very closer to look into what he is doing always, and to rectify it. There was a growing idea of socialism, Marxian version. Marxian version பார்த்து ஒரு fear இருந்தது. Marxian version absolutely wanted to dismantle ownership of property. Private ownership இருக்கக்கூடாது, ஆனா ஸ்டேட் தான் ஓனரா இருக்கணும். நல்லா புரிஞ்சுக்கணும். Because at that point of time there was another ideology. Marx initially did not start writing against capitalism. In fact, against capitalism, anarchist. There were a group of theorists called anarchists: Proudhon, Bakunin, Kropotkin. They were all people who were writing against capitalism. But for them, அவங்களோட famous quote இருக்கு Proudhon: property is theft. Property நாலே theft தான். யார் கையிலயும் ப்ராப்பர்ட்டி இருக்க கூடாது. private property இல்ல, ப்ராப்பர்ட்டியே இருக்க கூடாது. பொது உடைமை, முழு பொது உடைமை, கண்ட்ரோலே இல்லை. அவங்க ஸ்டேட்டுங்கிறதையும் ரெகக்னைஸ் பண்ணல. பட் மார்க்ஸ் said you cannot say property is theft. Okay, private property alone is theft. State can be the owner which state distributes. அதுதான் ஸ்டேட்டோட ஜாபா இருக்கணும். இதுதான் மார்க்ஸ் சொன்னது. அப்போ யாருக்குமே ப்ராப்பர்ட்டி, பிரைவேட் ப்ராப்பர்ட்டி இருக்க கூடாது, ஆனா ஸ்டேட் தான் ஓனர். Depending upon the need of the person, state shall distribute it. இதுதான். இத வந்து UK இல்ல other socialism didn't agree. Even our socialism didn't agree. What in UK itself, what they said, Marx, what he says has a meaning, relevance, good. But Marx is not all right. Private property itself is wrong means, first of all, competition will go away. Human society will not even progress to the next stage. It is not easy affair. But they also agreed there is exploitation when you leave everything to the market forces. Let the invisible laissez-faire economics படிச்சிருப்பீங்க, laissez-faire system. Let the invisible hand of the economy take control itself, market control itself. Adam Smith அதுவும் அலோவ் பண்ண முடியாது. ஏன்னா அது அலோவ் பண்ணா அதுவும் ப்ராப்ளம் கிரியேட் பண்ணும். அந்த நிலையில தான் யூகேல people like George Bernard Shaw, Sidney Well, Patrice Well, GDH Cole, பின்னாடி ப்ரொஃபசர் லாஸ்கி போன்றவர்கள்லாம் மார்க்ஸுடைய ஐடியாஸ்ல சில உண்மைகள் உண்டு, ஆனால் மார்க்ஸ் ஃபுல்லா ஏத்துக்க முடியாது. ஏன்னா மார்க்ஸ் ஓவர் த்ரோ ஆஃப் த ஸ்டேட் சொல்றாரு. கேபிட்டலிசத்தை bloody revolution. The laborers of all world unite, you have nothing to lose except your chains. தொழிலாளர்கள், அனைத்து உலக தொழிலாளர்கள் ஒன்று சேருங்கள், நீங்கள் இழப்பதற்கு ஒன்றுமில்லை உங்கள் சங்கிலிகளை தவிர. இதுதான் மார்க்ஸ். அப்ப நீங்க உங்கள் சங்கிலிகளை தவிர இழப்பதற்கு ஒன்றும் இல்லைன்னா என்ன பண்ணணும்? புரட்சிக்கு ரெடியாங்க, ஓவர் த்ரோ பண்ணுங்கன்னு சொல்லி ஒரு வயலன்ஸ் பிரிஸ்கிரைப் பண்றாரு. ரெண்டாவது, ஸ்டேட் இதெல்லாம் கவனிக்க முடியுமானா ஸ்டேட்டுக்கு 1000 வேலை இருக்கு. லா அண்ட் ஆர்டரே பெரிய விஷயம், இதை எப்படி கவனிக்க முடியும் எல்லாமே? ஆனால் மார்க்ஸ் ஒரு விதத்தில் ரைட்டுங்கிறாங்க. எப்ப எல்லாமே பிரைவேட் டெஸ்ட்டை விடக்கூடாது. ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள் ரயில்வே, யூகேலயே நடந்தது. ரயில்வே, அட்டாமிக் எனர்ஜி, இது ரயில்வே மைனிங், அந்த டைம் அட்டாமிக் எனர்ஜி இல்ல, மைனிங் வாஸ் தேர். கோல் மைனிங் அண்ட் லாட் மைனிங் வருது. இதெல்லாம் அதிகமான மக்களை ஈடுபடுத்தக்கூடியது. Railways, you take India, the next to agriculture, which is an informal one, but a formal sector, railways is the highest employment. இங்க வந்துட்டு ப்ராஃபிட்டுக்காக ஒருத்தர் நடத்தினா, if the route is not profitable, they will close it. State cannot do that. Thousands of families will come to street. Lakhs together they will come to street. So few areas which are very labor intensive, that areas let the state run. State completely take control. Other areas you leave for private people. இதுதான் Fabian socialist idea. In fact, Nehruvian socialism also prescribed this mixed kind of a thing. There were little differences, but mixed kind of an approach. That state also shall take up few area, but leave other areas to private people also. Let not state put itself into everything. இதுதான் மிக்சட் எக்கானமி சொல்றோம். இததான் வந்துட்டு நெஹ்ருவியன் சோசியலிசம்னு நம்ம சொல்லலாம். இததான் நம்ம சோசியலிசம்னு சொன்னோம். சார் அப்புறம் ஏன் சார் சோசியலிசம்ங்கிற வேர்டு அப்ப கொண்டு வரல? Constitution they should have brought it while the Constitution was there. Why have they not brought it? The simple thing is that see that point of time, one point Russian Revolution only 30 years gone, 1917. China there was a revolution. Cuba 58 actually, but there were troubles. Left-wing ideology has spread, and left-wing socialism immediately the word. Even today I am saying, if you hear the word socialism, you think of Marx only. Even communism, you think of Marx only. But even before Marx, Plato spoke about communism. But that communism was different actually. But we think of Marx only. So Marxian idea could be thought as that what is socialism here, and people may demand that one. Interpretations may possible be on that. But we didn't mean that. Provisions number on the socialist press 39B in the 39C in the 41 இருந்தது 42 43 all were there, but socialism word specific வைக்கல, misconstrued mean they did not feel the need to keep. Telangana insurrection, when we got independence, one of the biggest internal insurrection after the takeover of Hyderabad Nizam state, violence Nizam state நமக்கு ஒரு 6 days 7 days தான் அது வார்னு கூட சொல்ல முடியாது, easier India took. But after we continued 2-3 years, Telangana insurrection against the Naxals, that time the word Naxals was not popular. Later on, all left wing. They wanted a separate state actually. Communist state. Again, Marxian version. So we were against it. Sir, but then why did we introduce in 76? See, after 1969, particularly, when in 71, particularly India involved in the freedom of Bangladesh, outrightly America supported Pakistan. In fact, it threatened India also, but Indira Gandhi did not bother about any of these threats. She went head on. And at some point of time, internationally, we got isolated because of it. And so we had to take, we were a non-alignment country, non-aligned to any bloc. That time, 2 blocks was there. One was this capitalist bloc of America, another was the Warsaw Pact bloc, socialist bloc of USSR. We were not into any of these blocks. But ஏதாவது ஒரு block உள்ளார நம்ம இருந்தாத internationally நம்ம balance of payment எல்லாமே செட்டா இல்லனா cannot live in an isolated world. It becomes difficult. So when India was closing itself because of this, slowly India sided with, I will not say went with, sided with USSR. The impact of USSR was there, and India at that time, 2 things. One, Indira Gandhi wanted to make her name popular. So she went on to socialist measures. But in 1969, the bank nationalization, private government job open up. In a bank nationalize government jobs open up. 14 banks, then 6 banks, it goes on. And public sectors roll out. Lot many started happening. When these all were happening, that is where this whole socialistic ideal started coming in. And in 1976, the impact of all these things, exclusively the word socialism was put there. In case of this one. And also, please, if possible, if you have seen in books, I have no problem, because sometimes such a question is asked. Not in UPSC I have seen, but it's a pertinent question. Socialism is basic structure. What is basic structure? Tomorrow we will see. Socialism is a basic structure of the constitution. Minerva Mills versus Union of India, 1980 case says. Minerva Mills versus Union of India, 1980 case says. Minerva Mills. Versus Union of India, 1980. Important case actually. In the case of socialism is basic structure of constitution, the Supreme Court sollirukku, but what version of socialism also they have very clearly explained. Okay, so that is there. That is one point with regard to socialism. Then secularism in India, this version of secularism. What is that? This French version of secularism. Last year mains question was asked, I suppose. Last year mains question. French version of secularism, Indian version of secularism. What is the difference actually? That is what it is. See, secularism, India did not have that word secularism as such before. We were not having that earlier. But if you see, secularism that in India came up later on as an exclusive word. But content of secularism, Article 25 to 28 already we had. Not only that, there are numerous contents within secularism that already we had actually, secularism. But அந்த என்ன மாற்றம் அப்ப இந்தியன் வெர்ஷனுக்கும் யூரோப்பியன் வெர்ஷனுக்கும்? See, Indian version of secularism, European version of secularism particularly, non-belief, that is, state will not have a religion, state will not recognize any religion. State doesn't recognize religion. Not having religion, not recognizing religion. And as secularism as a word being எடுத்துக்கிட்டீங்கன்னா, it came from the word atheism actually. Atheism, non-belief in God or any other supernatural power. But secularism, atheism does not even believe in universal moral, because morals were believed to come from religion. But secularism says, Jacob Holyoake was a person who introduced it earlier, I think in the mid of 19th century, 1850s, I suppose. He said, secularism also doesn't believe in God nor any supernatural entity, but it believes in a universal moral. Without religion also we can have moral to control. That is, non-belief in God plus moral is secularism, but other one is the other way out. Okay, so this way secularism was there, and that is European one. But Indian one says that we recognize all religion. We recognize all religion. State will not have religion, but state recognizes all religion. This is the Indian version of secularism. So this Indian version of secularism already intact in the constitution. Why we included in 76 is that by that time certain right-wing groups were all strong in India who tried to manipulate or use religion for their own purpose and political advancement. Appo, the government says that they felt the need to include the word secularism specifically in this one. In numerous cases, secularism is called as basic structure of the constitution. Okay, rest all, republic, the very first class I have explained to you. Rest all is not much to be explained. So secularism and sovereign, as well as the word integrity, these three were introduced by 42nd Amendment Act 1976. Okay, rest of it well and good. Sir, is preamble part of the constitution? Yes. After Indri Berubari case 1960, it was said not part. 1960 Indri Berubari Union case, not part of the constitution, court said. But in Keshwananda Bharati case 1973, was the state of Kerala, 1973, court said it is part and parcel of the constitution. So you need an amendment procedure to amend preamble also. So preamble is now part and parcel of the constitution. Any clarification required in any of the provisions in the constitution, preamble can be a guiding light to say what the idea was of the constitution makers. So with this, I think I can conclude today. Preamble is also done, having put a question. Okay, with this I can conclude today, I suppose. Hope questions are there, and time is also like we can conclude today, and tomorrow any questions I may